Chapter 648. In the starry sky, his red clothes fluttered in the wind as he strode forward. Streaks of starlight streaked past, so dazzling that even though he was thousands of miles away, it seemed as if he was right beside him. Einar looked at the surrounding starry sky, her large eyes filled with curiosity as usual. She looked left and right, unable to remain still for even a moment. The star field was vast, and from time to time, when they passed by great life stars, they could clearly feel waves of powerful auras. They were incomparably majestic like a vast ocean. Ning-chun, after we return, will Master Emo punish you? Emo planet was getting closer and closer. Einar recalled what had happened at the Red Luan King's realm, and asked worriedly. No. Ning-chun shook his head. Why? Asked Einar, confused. Regarding the matter of the Red Luan royal territory, who is right and who is wrong is not something that can be determined with just a few words. Emo Master has no right to judge this matter, said Ning-chun calmly. Oh, Einar nodded and said, if the Red Luan King's territory were to cause trouble in the future, would Master Emo hand you over? I'm not sure. We can't worry about that right now. The Red Luan Realm Queen and the others won't be able to come out anytime soon. Let's deal with this first, said Ning-chun. What is it? Asked Einar, puzzled. Look for a spirit vein and plant a peach tree, Ning-chun said seriously. While the two of them were conversing, Emo planet was already within reach of them. Lord Emo and Chi Huan, who had returned first, had already returned to Emo Mountain. Half a day later, at Ink Mountain's Whispering Peak, Ning-chun returned. He looked at the white-robed old man on the Dao platform and bowed respectfully. Master. On the Dao platform, Emo Zhu opened his eyes and said calmly, It's good that you're back. Tell me in detail what happened in the Red Luan King's territory. If the fault lies in the King's territory, I will naturally seek justice for you. Yes. Ning-chun bowed and explained everything in detail from when he first entered the Red Luan Galaxy until he went to the Red Luan Royal Territory to ask for the Jade Pool water. Other than some of his own secrets, Ning-chun did not hide anything else because there was no need to. Emo Zhu quietly listened to the former. After a long time he nodded and said, I understand. You can go and rest first. Disciple will take his leave. Ning-chun bowed respectfully, then turned around and left. Looking at the back of the former, Master Mo's eyes flashed with a glimmer of light. Old Nine, how many secrets are you hiding? Ning-chun returned to the 9th summit with een air. He had not returned for many days, and the hut in front of the bamboo forest was covered in dust and fallen leaves. Clearly, no one had cleaned it for a long time. I'm going to look for Sister Ling Luo. Einar looked at the 8th summit. Her big eyes darted around, and she said in a coquettish voice, Okay, come back soon, Ning-chun instructed. Got it. Einar replied and jogged towards the 8th summit. Seeing that the little girl had left, Ning-chun went into the house and took a broom to start tidying up. It was getting late, and he had to clean up as soon as possible. The illusory soul body looked at the person in front of it and said, The matter of the spiritual land requires one person to find it. That won't be difficult, but the following matters will be very troublesome. Yes. Ning-chun nodded and said, The undying peach tree needs 9,000 years to bloom and bear fruit. That's too long. We must think of a way to deal with it. Chongling has formations that can speed up the flow of time. However, it is still not enough for the immortal peach tree to bear fruit quickly, the demonic body said gravely. Time seal, Ning-chun said slowly. Light flashed through the demonic body's eyes. He said, This seal only exists in legends and has never appeared in the mortal world. How can we find it? I'm not sure. Emo Master is one direction. The other is the Dawn Moon Tower Master and the Heavens Speaker. These three are not ordinary. Perhaps we can find some clues, Ning-chun said calmly. The demonic body nodded and said, There are too many unimaginable things in Emo sect. It is not good to stay here for long. Once we obtain news of the time seal, or other methods of reviving the dead, we must leave as soon as possible. As for the Dawn Moon Tower Master, until today, I still cannot figure out how he saw through my identity. This person's secrets are no less than Emo Master's. We must be on guard. Ning-chun carefully swept away the dust in the corner of the house and said, One step at a time. Let's test Emo Master first. There is no need to interact too much with the Dawn Moon Tower Master for now. Businessmen always prioritize profit. It is not difficult to interact with each other, but it is not easy to form a deep relationship. Compared to these two, I actually want to go to the Heavenly Word Peak and visit that Heaven Speaker. You think she will know? The demonic body asked with a frown. Not entirely because of this. Ningchen raised his head and looked in the direction of the Heavenly Word Peak. He said, all this time, in order to revive the ghost girl, we have hurried through every place. Other than the Divine Prefecture, our foundation is too shallow. Just like this time, in the Red Luan King's realm, although we trapped the Realm King and the Red Luan ancestors in the Great Void God realm, we were unable to completely solve this problem. The reason is because our foundation is too shallow. When we need manpower and combat power, we are unable to do so. You mean we should rope in that Heaven Speaker? The demonic body asked seriously. Perhaps we can try. Compared to Emo Master and the mysterious Dawn Moon Tower Master, that Heaven Speaker might be a better candidate to befriend. Previously, she took the initiative to express her goodwill. We can use this opportunity to test whether it is true or false. If it is true, gaining the friendship of a Heaven Speaker will be very beneficial to us in the future. If it is false, we can immediately leave without too much loss, Ningchen replied calmly. The demonic body thought for a moment and said, I am not good at this. You will do it. Leave the search for the spirit vein to me. We will split up and focus on finding the time seal. Okay. Ningchen agreed. He thought for a moment and said, when searching for the spirit vein, pay more attention to the whereabouts of the main body. There are too many things to do now. If the main body is here, it will be much faster. Understood, the demonic body replied. As he spoke, Ningchen raised his head and looked in the direction between the 9th peak and the 8th peak. He frowned and said, why is this girl back so quickly? Something might have happened. You deal with it. After saying that, the demonic body's soul merged into Ningchen's body and disappeared. Not long after, Ina ran back breathlessly and said, Ningchen, Sister Ling Luo is missing. Ningchen narrowed his eyes and said, she might have been sent out by Emo Master to do something. What's wrong? Is there anything strange? Something's not right. Go and take a look, Ina said a little anxiously. Ningchen nodded and took the little girl with him. He took a step forward and rushed towards the 8th peak. On the 8th peak, the two of them appeared in front of an elegant and quiet house. Ina ran forward and pushed open the door of the bamboo house. She said anxiously, look. Ningchen took 2 steps forward and looked into the house. He slowly frowned. The house was already covered in dust. It was clear that no one had lived in it for some time. Ningchen walked into the house and looked around. He wasn't unfamiliar with Ling Luozhen's house. The clothes and decorations in the room were exactly the same as before they went to planet Hongluan. This meant that Ling Luozhen hadn't planned on leaving for too long. However, the current situation clearly wasn't like that. Could something have happened to Sister Ling Luo? With the 3rd peak's master as an example, Yiner's eyes were filled with worry. Wait, Ningchen said as he carefully searched the room. The furnishings in the house were very simple. Other than a table, chairs, and a bed, there was only a dressing table. There was only a mirror and a peachwood comb on the dressing table. Ling Luozhen didn't like to use makeup, so she didn't put those things on the dressing table. Ningchen, I can't find the box of makeup I gave Sister Ling Luo, said Yin, anxiously as she looked around. Ningchen frowned and released his divine sense to search the entire 8th peak. Not long after, Ningchen's eyes focused and he said, Yin, that box of makeup was thrown under the pear tree by the cliff. Go and pick it up. Don't attract anyone's attention. After you pick it up, go back to the 9th peak. Okay. Ina responded and jogged out. Ningchen followed her out of the bamboo house and rushed towards the 5th peak. Qi Huan stood in front of the 5th peak and looked into the distance. No one knew what he was thinking. Ningchen arrived and said, 5th senior brother. Qi Huan was startled. He came back to his senses and said, you're back. Yes. Ningchen nodded and said, 5th senior brother, Where did Sister Ling Luo go? I don't know. Chi Huan shook his head and said. Senior brother, didn't you ask Master? Ningchen frowned. Master just returned. According to 6th junior brother and 7th junior brother, Sister Ling Luo was still on the 8th peak before Master left for planet Hongwan. Chi Huan sighed softly. Did Master say anything? Ningchen didn't understand. No. Chi Huan shook his head. Ningchen understood and didn't ask any more questions. He bade farewell and walked towards the 9th peak. 9th junior brother. At that moment, Chi Huan opened his mouth. He wanted to say something but hesitated. Then he sighed softly and said, It's fine. You can go back and have a good rest. Ningchen narrowed his eyes and responded. He then rushed towards the 9th peak. Ningchen waited quietly in front of the bamboo house. Before long, Ina ran back. Just as she was about to hand over the rouge, she saw Ningchen shake his head. Before we leave Ink Mountain, you have to take this rouge. Ningchen sent a message to her. Okay. Ina responded softly and carefully put the rouge box away. She didn't ask anything else. Night fell and the cold moon rose. Ningchen stood quietly in front of the bamboo house. He hadn't rested. His eyes flickered from time to time as he thought about everything that had happened recently. There was something strange about Mo Gate. There was no doubt about it. From Ling Luojan entering the forbidden land of wind and fire, to suppressing her cultivation base, to Ling Yun's accidental death, to Ling Luojan's disappearance today, there was something fishy about everything that had happened. There were only two reasons. Either there was something wrong with Master Mo, or there was a power that Ink Sect couldn't resist controlling everything from behind. Regardless of the reason, Ink Sect was not a safe place. However, what he didn't understand was why the disciples of Ink Sect, such as Ling Luojan and Ling Yun, had stayed behind despite knowing how dangerous it was. There seemed to be many opportunities to escape Ink Sect. Going to the Western Celestial World was the best opportunity. However, Ling Luojan and the others had still returned. It might be a problem with their cultivation methods, the devil body reminded him. Ningchen nodded. That was the only explanation. The only similarity among the disciples of Ink Sect was that they all cultivated the cultivation methods that Master Mo had bestowed upon them. Tomorrow, we'll ask Master Mo about Ling Luojan. Let's see what kind of answer he gives. Also, we can use this opportunity to ask him about the time restriction, Ningchen said calmly. Chapter 649. A cold wind blew at the Whispering Peak, and leaves fell. The aura of late autumn spread through the mountain, making it seem bleak. Hong Yi bowed in front of the platform to greet Mo Gate's master. Master, Ningchen said respectfully. What's the matter? Mo Gate's master asked. Disciple came to ask Master if there really is a time restriction in this world. Ningchen didn't beat around the bush and directly asked. Mo Gate's master was puzzled. Why do you ask? Disciple once came into contact with the Yellow Springs restriction in an ancient land and learned a lot. Therefore, Disciple is very interested in the time restriction, which is also a divine restriction. There is indeed such a restriction. Mo Zhu nodded and slowly said, 400 years ago, Master wasn't Mo Zhu's master yet. When I was wandering outside, I personally witnessed a grand cultivator using the time restriction. The destructive might of the divine restriction is something I still can't forget. Ningchen's expression turned serious. Master, do you know who that grand cultivator is? Mo Gate shook his head. I don't know. We only met once and never met again. Ningchen's expression was regretful. A moment later, he suppressed the fluctuations in his heart and looked at the old man with a serious expression. Disciple has one more thing, but I don't know if it's appropriate to ask. Speak. Mo Gate's master replied. Where did 8th senior sister go? When will she return? Ningchen asked. Mo Gate's eyes didn't change at all. Her corporeal realm tribulation is about to arrive. She needs to focus on her cultivation and won't return for the time being. As for how long, it will depend on when she can take this crucial step. May I know where 8th senior sister is cultivating? Ningchen didn't give up and continued asking. Why are you looking for her? Mo Gate's eyes narrowed. Disciples' cultivation has reached a bottleneck. 8th Senior Sister's lunar scripture and my solar scripture complement each other. Perhaps they can help me overcome this bottleneck, Ningchen said calmly. Mo Gate's eyes flashed. After a long time, he said, a demonic calamity is descending on Galistar in the north of the Red Phoenix star region. Go and deal with it. You can use this opportunity to break through your bottleneck. 8th Senior Sister. Ningchen opened his mouth. However, before he could ask, he was interrupted. We can talk about her after you return. The demonic calamity can't be delayed. Let's leave today. Mo Gate's master said coldly. Yes. Ningchen bowed. He had no choice but to leave first. On the 5th mountain peak, Chi Huan looked in the direction of the whispering peak and sighed. 9th brother had the heart, but unfortunately, this matter was not something he could resolve. Ningchen's expression darkened as he stood outside Legacy Summit. He took a step forward and charged towards the 9th summit. Behind him, on the Dao platform, Mo Zhu frowned as he watched the former's disappearing figure. He could no longer conceal his displeasure. Red light gathered on the 9th summit. Ningchen appeared and walked out of the Dragon's Gate. When Yin, who had been waiting for him, saw this, she jogged over and asked with concern, Did you manage to get anything out of him? We'll talk about this later. Pack your things and head out, Ningchen replied. Yin was startled and asked in confusion, Didn't we just come back? Why are we leaving again? Master Mo gave me a mission. If there's anything, we'll talk about it on the way. Let's pack up first, Ningchen instructed. Yes. When Yin heard this, she did not ask any more questions. She ran back to the bamboo house and put on the package that she had not had the time to open before handing it over to the former. Ningchen waved his hand and put away the package. Then he brought the little girl down the mountain. Outside Mo Gate, Ningchen turned around with a grave expression. After one last glance, he stepped into the Dragon's Gate and disappeared. In the starry sky, Yin could no longer hold back and asked, Where are we going? Galistar, replied Ningchen. Why are we going there? Asked Yin. Master Mo said that a demonic calamity is happening there. But that's clearly just an excuse for him to send me away. None of the peak masters of Mo Gate are weak. It's not up to me to deal with them. The true problem lies with Ling Luozhen's disappearance. My questioning has clearly angered Master Mo, said Ningchen gravely. Then what should we do? Did something really happen to Sister Ling Luozhen? Asked Yin worriedly. Where's the rouge I told you to put away? Asked Ningchen after thinking for a moment. It's here. Yin took out the rouge from her bosom and handed it over. Ningchen received it and opened the box. Looking at the rouge that was as red as blood, he narrowed his eyes. This was going to be troublesome. What is it? Did you see something? Asked Yin impatiently. Something really did happen to Ling Luozhen. It's very likely the same thing as the third peak's master, Ling Yun, said Ningchen. How could that be? Yin felt extremely pained. Tears flashed in her eyes. How do you know? This rouge contains Ling Luozhen's blood. She clearly sensed danger and purposely left it behind, said Ningchen. Who wants to harm Sister Ling Luozhen? Is it Master Mo? Asked Yin. I can't be sure. But based on the current situation, the possibility is very high, said Ningchen gravely. Yin wiped away her tears. Then after this trip we won't return. Mo Gate is too dangerous. If it really was Master Mo's doing, then whether we return or not isn't something we can decide. Ningchen sighed softly. If they could leave, Ling Yun and Ling Luozhen would have left long ago. They wouldn't have stayed in Mo Mountain to wait for death. There must be a force that they couldn't resist. It's just that we don't know about it yet. Is there no other way? Asked Yin worriedly. Let's wait and see. According to Chi Huan and Ling Luozhen's previous warnings, there shouldn't be any problems before stepping into the immortal realm. Black light spread from Ningchen's body, and his demonic body appeared. Let's part here. We'll act separately according to the plan. Yes. Ningchen nodded. What about me? When Yin saw this, she asked anxiously. Follow the phoenix body. I won't be gone for too long. Mo Gate is truly troublesome. The phoenix body can't handle it alone. I'll be back soon, said the demonic body calmly. Oh, Hearing this, Ener nodded and obediently agreed. Don't expose yourself. Also, we don't know when Xianlua will appear. You have to be careful, reminded Ningchen. I know. Once I find a suitable spirit vein, I'll rush back as quickly as possible. Before that, try not to clash with Master Mo. The demonic body didn't say anything else. His figure flashed, and he flew to the other side of the starry sky. Let's go too. Seeing the demonic body leave, Ningchen and Ener also sped up, rushing to the north of the Hongwan starfield. On Galistar, demonic chi curled up. The entire planet had practically turned into a dead planet. Corpses were strewn everywhere, and rivers of blood flowed everywhere. It was truly a great terror, a world-destroying demonic tribulation that shook people's hearts. In front of the slaughtering sword sect, the black-robed sovereign stood calmly. His white hair danced in the wind, and the demonic mark on his forehead was dazzling. A terrifying aura shook the surrounding mountains. The sovereign of the devil's eyes were ice-cold. The demonic sword in his hand was dripping with blood. The reforged demonic sword was even more murderous than before. Within the slaughtering sword sect, the swordsmen had formed a formation. Numerous grandmasters were standing guard, blocking the demonic tribulation. In front of the formation, the black-robed sovereign moved. His demonic sword's light illuminated the sky. In an instant, demonic might filled the 9 heavens. Reincarnation! The demonic sword slashed out, and sword light coiled out, going back and forth in an endless cycle. In an instant between heaven and earth, tens of thousands of demonic swords collided with the sword formation, annihilating everything. Ugh! Amidst a series of muffled groans, more than 10 great grandmasters of the sword faction flew out, covered in blood. Why? The sect master staggered a few steps and questioned. Because you all deserve to die. The sovereign replied coldly. He raised his demonic sword again, and an incomparably dense demonic chi spread out. In an instant, above the 9 heavens, the sea of clouds rolled, and 10,000 bolts of lightning struck. Bury the heavens! With a clang, the demonic sword stabbed into the ground. In an instant, hundreds of miles of mountains collapsed. In the sea of clouds, sword light descended. The bury the heavens technique was destructive. With a loud explosion, sand waves raged. With the slaughtering sword sect as the center, the entire mountain range collapsed. Blood spurted into the sky and rained down. The sovereign walked out from the raging sand waves. His white hair danced in the wind as he walked into the distance. At the same time, thousands of miles away, the Dragon Gate appeared. One big and one small figure walked out. The scene in front of them was shocking. What entered their eyes were only blood and corpses. There was no trace of life. Ener covered her small mouth as her body trembled. Even though she had seen the changes in Zhongzhou, seeing this scene again was difficult for her to accept. Ningchen looked at the little girl beside him and said softly, "It's okay. Don't be afraid." Ener came back to her senses and replied softly. Her small hands subconsciously tightened. Boom! Thousands of miles away, the mountain range collapsed. A terrifying fluctuation spread out. Ningchen felt it and looked forward. Without saying anything, he brought the little girl and rushed over. In the ruins of the slaughtering sword sect, the blood had yet to dry up. The mountain was dyed red, and it spoke of sorrow. Ningchen hurried over, and saw the familiar demonic chi and sword intent. His body trembled violently. The slaughtering sword sect that was buried by the mountain rock had become history in a single day. Its name once shook the world, but now it was just a pile of yellow soil. Suddenly, there was a slight movement under the mountain rock. It was so light, but it was clearly heard by the 2 people present. Ningchen squinted his eyes, and his figure flashed. He arrived in front of the mountain rock, and waved his hand to shake it away. Under the mountain rock, there was a pool of blood. The light in the eyes of a middle-aged man in green was abnormally dim. When the master of the slaughtering sword sect saw the red-clothed young man appear in front of him, his dim eyes suddenly lit up. Demon! Before he could finish his sentence, he could only feel regret. He did not raise his drooping arms again. The master of the slaughtering sword sect was unwilling to leave this world. Sigh! Sighing softly, Ningchen stretched out his hand and closed the former's eyes. The grudges of the past had all disappeared after death. After stopping for a moment, Ningchen held Yiner's hand and left. Outside the mountain range, he waved his hand and condensed a sword. Rays of sword light soared into the sky and disappeared into the mountain range behind him. With a rumble, the entire mountain range collapsed and buried the bodies of the dead. The dead were buried, and their souls returned to the yellow springs. Ningchen, is it really a demon? Yiner asked softly. Yes. Ningchen nodded and sighed again. In order to resist the Nether King, Ziyi's 3 souls had been demonized. Before Zhang Sun left, he did not speak of his regrets. Chapter 650. Gloomy clouds covered Galistar, and slaughter was everywhere. The desolate scenes made one's heart turn cold. Demons brought disaster to the world, regardless of gender, age, or age. Wherever they passed, demonic flames burned the plains. Dark clouds covered the sky, and thunder rumbled. It was as if they were lamenting over this calamity. The sovereign of demons walked forward, his eyes emotionless. The demonic mark on his forehead gave off a demonic red light, and his white hair danced in the wind. It was extremely dazzling. The 3 souls demonized, a demon among demons. Heaven and earth trembled as he walked forward step by step, lonely and desolate. 3,000 miles away, a red-clothed figure flashed, heading in the direction of the demonic clouds. At this moment, clouds shone brightly in the distance, and several figures descended from the sky. Their powerful auras shook the world. Oh no! Ningchen was shocked when he saw this. He hurried forward, increasing his speed. The wilderness was desolate. The rulers stopped in their tracks, and the air pressure between heaven and earth suddenly dropped. 11 top-notch powerhouses descended into the mortal world. Their auras surged, frightening gods and ghosts. The 2 at the front were young, but their auras were abnormally powerful. The pressure of the ascending immortal emptiness realm continued to spread. All living beings within 1,000 miles trembled in fear. Divine General Jin Shi, the demon said indifferently. Kill, Qing Xiao said coldly. At his command, the 9-peak great fulfillment powerhouses manifested long sabers in their hands. They formed a 3-on-3 formation and attacked. The killing formation arrived, and the demonic sword appeared. The sovereign's eyes were emotionless. His former benevolence had turned demonic. The swords and sabers clashed, and the king armaments faced each other. Sharp killing light swept out, splitting mountains. 3 waves of attacks, 1 attacking, 2 defending, and 1 attacking. There was a tacit understanding between them, and their battle prowess multiplied. However, the demonic sword did not show any flaws. Wherever it passed, the wind and clouds lost their color. It's more troublesome than I imagined. Qing Xiao frowned when he saw that he did not have the upper hand. The white-clothed man nodded and said calmly, This demon is indeed not simple. You stay here. I'll deal with this demon. Qing Xiao waved his hand and cold chi surged. The azure frost sword appeared, and his figure flashed into the battlefield. With a loud clang, the demonic sword and blue frost collided. Demonic energy and cold energy violently collided. The remaining might of the sword rapidly spread outwards. When Qing Xiao entered the battle instantly became white-hot. The edges of the swords intersected, causing thousands of waves of sand to rise and the sky to darken. In a battle between top experts, every move was a killing move. The aftershock spread in all directions, causing the earth to shatter and the sky to shake. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 moves had been exchanged. With the aid of the killing formation, the might of the azure frost sword was unparalleled. It actually managed to suppress the demonic sword by a bit. The ruler snorted coldly and shook off the battle with his sword. The moment the 3-to-3 killing formation retreated, the demonic chi on the demonic sword surged like waves. It soared into the sky, parted the thunderclouds and connected heaven and earth. Heaven burning devil flame. Demonic flames suddenly descended, burning the sky and boiling the sea, dispersing the cold air between heaven and earth. The dazzling black flames gushed out like waves, like a surging fire dragon, shocking the world. When the demonic technique appeared, Qing Zhao's expression turned serious. The cold chi on the blue frost sword was activated and spread out again. The collision between the flames and the cold air caused the heavens and earth to shake violently. It was difficult for them to withstand this extreme power. The 9 powerhouses at the peak of the great fulfillment once again pressed forward. The sharp saber light was fatal. In the demonic flames, the ruler's body was like a black prison. His white hair danced wildly and his sword moved. With great power, he turned the situation around. The benevolent ruler and the ruthless demonic cultivator had once saved the world, but they could not save themselves. Outside the battle, Bai Qin stood quietly and watched the battle. She was not in a hurry to make a move. Just as the battle was getting more and more intense, Bai Qin's gaze focused. She turned around and looked behind her. Then her figure flashed and disappeared. 100 miles away, Red Clothes was rushing. Suddenly, a white light gathered in front of her. A white-clothed figure walked out and blocked her path. The Jinsi dynasty is in front. Your Excellency, please take a detour. The battle could not be disturbed. Bai Qin appeared to block the person and said calmly. Ningchen stopped, and his eyes darkened. He said, "Get out of the way." "Sorry, I can't," Bai Qin said faintly. Ningchen was worried about his good friend's safety, so he did not say anything else. He took a step forward, and his figure was like an illusion as he passed by. Oh! Seeing this, Bai Qin's eyes flashed with a touch of depression. Her figure flashed, and in a flash, she blocked the front again. Heaven and earth moved extremely fast. For the first time, space cracks kept spreading between the two. Your Excellency, please take a detour. Bai Qin knew that the person in front of her was not ordinary. She did not want to offend him easily, so she said again. The sound of the battle in the distance could be heard clearly. Ning Chen's expression became colder and colder. He did not delay any longer. With a wave of his hand, a white rainbow appeared. Holding the rainbow sword, Red Clothes moved instantly. A dazzling white light flashed, and the yellow spring opened the way. Bai Qin focused and clenched her left hand. In the surging lightning, an equally white sword appeared. White lightning and blue frost, the 2 famous swords of the Jinsi dynasty, appeared in the world at the same time. The 2 swords faced each other. Extreme speed against extreme speed. Phoenix against thunder. The fast confrontation could not be seen clearly. Red light and white lightning intersected again and again between heaven and earth. The swords were cold, and did not leave any leeway. The white swords, one was hard and one was soft, and the other was filled with lightning. When they collided, magnificent rainbow lights were reflected. In the battle of martial arts, Bai Qin had the upper hand. In the battle of swords, Knowing Destiny had the upper hand. Separated by one realm, Knowing Destiny went against the flow. Ning Chen's white rainbow changed constantly. Hardness and softness combined to close the gap between their realms. Sky shattering. With the sound of swords, an irregular sword mist whizzed out. It split the void and slashed toward Bai Qin. Bai Qin focused her eyes. Her body flashed like lightning, and avoided the sword light. She immediately took advantage of the situation. White lightning surged and screeched. Troublesome opponent. Ning Chen said softly and stepped into the air. His sword stirred up the wind and clouds. The converging sword style of the heavenly book martial arts descended to the world. 9 sword suns circled and immediately fell from the sky. The shocking power instantly destroyed the world within 100 miles. The extreme sword power descended. Even Bai Qin, who was as strong as Divine General Jin Shi, did not dare to be careless. The white lightning divine sword gathered lightning from all directions and blocked the power of the 9 suns. The 2 techniques collided and the explosion spread endlessly. The land within 100 miles collapsed and was destroyed. In the aftermath, Bai Qin flew out. However, she could no longer see the red-clothed swordsman. 100 miles away, the red-clothed swordsman appeared. When Ning Chen walked out, his pupils constricted. The sovereign in front of the dragon gate had white hair fluttering in the wind. His face was like that of a demon. His killing intent was piercingly cold. It was as if the king of hell had descended to the world. It was shocking. When the battle ended, corpses were everywhere. All 9 perfection sovereigns had fallen. None of them survived. Stop him. Not far away, Qing Xiao staggered a few steps and vomited blood. His severely injured body could no longer support himself and fell straight down. Good friend, goodbye. With one last look and cold words, the sovereign stepped into the dragon gate and disappeared. Ningchen hurried forward, but could not stop him in time. Qingxiao. Behind him, Bai Qin rushed over. When she saw the figure in the blood wave, she was shocked. She immediately went forward and helped him up. She poured her vital essence endlessly. Immediately, white lightning flashed around them. It was extremely dazzling. Ningchen glanced at the corpses on the ground and sighed. He held the little girl beside him and walked away. Sir, please wait. In the lightning, Bai Qin stood up and looked at the figure in front of her, who was about to leave. Ningchen stopped and turned to look at her. He said indifferently, killing each other? Anytime. Sir, you misunderstand. Bai Qin shook her head. May I ask if you are the master of Mo Gate's 9th peak? Yes, so what? Said Ningchen calmly. I am Bai Qin, a subordinate of Sovereign Jinsi. Just now, I had no choice but to attack. Please allow me to apologize to you, said Bai Qin apologetically. Ningchen's eyes flashed. Someone from the Jinsi dynasty? He had forgotten that Gala Star was not far from Jinsi Star, where the Jinsi dynasty was located. Brother, you came in such a hurry. Are you acquainted with that demon from just now? Asked Bai Qin, confused. Ningchen did not answer. He said calmly, I still have matters to attend to. If you don't have anything else, I will take my leave. After saying that, Ningchen did not linger. He turned and left. That demon seems to be looking for a woman. A dead woman, said Bai Qin. Right after she said that, Hongyi instantly flashed, forcefully breaking through the white lightning blockade and grabbing at her throat. Bai Qin was shocked. She quickly retreated 30 meters away. Swish! White rainbow cold kill. Boundless coldness spread out from Hongyi's body. Killing intent that had not appeared even when they had fought just now was now rampant in the cold wind. Please don't misunderstand. That woman's death has nothing to do with us, explained Bai Qin hastily. Killing intent surged in Ningchen's eyes. His sword flickered with cold light. Beside him, Qingxiao was unconscious and in imminent danger. Seeing that Qingxiao was under Ningchen's sword, Bai Qin did not dare to be careless. She continued, Rumor has it that before this demon recovered, he was chased by others. A woman brought him out of the encirclement. The demon was lucky enough to survive, but the woman was heavily injured and died. She was taken away. Who? Ningchen's voice was hoarse. He could not suppress his killing intent, causing his sword to constantly hum. It was extremely piercing. I don't know yet. However, these people all had a coffin on their backs. They were extremely powerful. They were last seen on this planet, but for some reason they completely disappeared, said Bai Qin with a grave expression. When Ningchen heard this, the hand holding his sword cracked. His aura shook, and his eyes, which had always been calm, were overflowing with killing intent. The demon just now has already lost his mind and cannot be left alive. No matter what grudges you had with him in the past, it is all in the past now. Demons are cruel, and it is impossible for them to return to the past. This planet, which is almost completely destroyed, is the best evidence, said Bai Qin seriously. Ningchen waved his hand and put away his sword. The killing intent in his eyes gradually receded. His eyes were calm once more. After the emperor returned from the Red Luan King's realm, he has mentioned your name more than once in front of us. He admires you greatly. Since we have met here, why don't we go to Jinsi planet together and report what happened today to the emperor? We can discuss this demon together, invited Bai Qin sincerely. There is no need. I still have other things to do. Goodbye. Ningchen said indifferently and turned to leave. Looking at his departing figure, Bai Qin frowned. The person sent by Maha's sect was actually the youngest 9th son. Just what was Maha's sect's intention? However, based on the situation just now, this person's cultivation in the sword was truly terrifying. It was no wonder that even the emperor had a whole new level of respect for him. If it were not for the suppression of their realms, Bai Qin might have lost to him today. After a moment of contemplation, Bai Qin took 2 steps forward and picked up the heavily injured Qingxiao. Her figure flashed as she stepped into the air. Just as the two of them left, red light gathered in the original place. Ningchen walked out and quickly followed. Chapter 651. The Jinsi planet was a prosperous planet of life. The Jinsi divine dynasty ruled the world, and no one dared to disobey the emperor's orders. Emperor Jinsi, who was at the peak of the Ling Lisha realm, used the dynasty's resources to make further progress. He was known as the person most likely to enter the true realm. In the Jinsi imperial city, the two divine generals, Bai Qin and Qing Xiao, returned. They failed to kill the demon and went to report to the palace. In the Jinsi palace, a powerful figure stood quietly in front of the throne. Golden fate circled around him like a burning flame, dazzling and eye-catching. Your Majesty. Bai Qin went up to the palace and knelt down. Get up, Emperor Jinsi said calmly. Bai Qin got up with a guilty look and said, I'm useless. I couldn't get rid of the demon. 9 divine guards died in battle, and Qing Xiao was seriously injured. Emperor Jinsi narrowed his eyes and said, Qing Xiao is not weak. Your strength is comparable to the peak of the virtual realm. Even with the help of the 9 divine guards, you still couldn't defeat the demon. The 9th son of the Mo clan suddenly appeared outside the battle. I didn't recognize him. When I tried to stop him, the battle collapsed and we were defeated, Bai Qin answered honestly. The 9th son of the Mo clan? Emperor Jinsi's eyes flashed. The person sent by Mo clan was actually him. Strange. Since you two fought head-on, what was the result? Emperor Jinsi asked. There was no winner. Just as you said, this person can't be treated as an ordinary person. His combat strength is incredible, Bai Qin said seriously. Experience, judgment, and adaptability in battle. This person's tolerance was shocking. He's obviously not a disciple carefully cultivated by a large sect. He's an executioner who killed his way out of the blood wave step by step, Emperor Jinsi said calmly. Bai Qin nodded, thought for a while, and said, There's something else. It's also unusual. What is it? Emperor Jinsi asked. The 9th son of the Mo clan seems to be old friends with the demon, especially when he mentioned the woman who died in battle. The murderous aura of the 9th son of the Mo clan was not fake, Bai Qin reported. Oh. Hearing this, a strange look appeared on Sovereign Jin Shi's face. This was something worth paying attention to. After thinking for a while, Emperor Jinsi looked at the people below and said, I will pay attention to it. Go back and rest. Don't worry about killing the demon. Yes. Bai Qin respectfully accepted the order and turned to leave. After Bai Qin left, Imperial Lord Jin Shi looked outside the palace. Mo sect had sent the person who shouldn't have come. However, he wanted to see how strong the 9th disciple of Mo sect, who had made Hongwuan suffer a great loss, was. On the streets of Jinsi Imperial City, Ningchen walked with keen air. None of the passers-by paid any attention to these 2 ordinary people. Ningchen, are you suspecting Sovereign Jin Shi? Asked Diener, puzzled. I can't say that I'm suspicious. Ningchen shook his head and said, Emperor Jin Shi, since this is the source of the news, regardless of whether this matter is related to him or not, we need to verify it. Also, I think Ziyi will be here soon. Why? Diener looked puzzled and said, This is Jin Shi Imperial City. With Sovereign Lord Jin Shi here, isn't he courting death by coming here? Demonic nature. Ningchen sighed softly and said, Demons are the most vengeful race in this world. They wouldn't have let go of their pursuit just like that. If Ziyi had come prepared, even if Sovereign Jin Shi intervened, he might not have been able to stop them. Then when you meet again, will he still recognize you? Asked Diener. He will recognize him, but that doesn't mean he agrees with him. Ningchen looked ahead and said, Ziyi is the same as the demon body and Xian Luo. They are all true demons. They are heartless and emotionless. Once they are angry, it means destruction. No one can stop them. Diener was silent. Her mood was not very good. Ningchen saw through her thoughts and said, Don't think too much. The demon body didn't mean to hurt you. Otherwise, he wouldn't have kept you by his side. Although demons are emotionless, they are not without intelligence. Like normal people, they have their own judgment. Can't you save him? Diener looked up and asked expectantly. Ningchen shook his head and said, So far, no one has succeeded. I tried to use Buddhist methods to wash away the demonic nature for Ze, but I failed in the end. Demons are demons just like humans. People's hearts can't change, but the demonic nature is also hard to get rid of. When Ina heard this, she quietly followed beside the person beside her and did not say anything else. Not long after they left, Ning Chun and Yin settled down in an inn not far from Divine General Baiqin's residence in Fulian. The location of their room was directly opposite Divine General Baiqin's residence. After running around for several days, Ina was very tired. When she ate, her eyelids would droop. The little girl, who had always been a glutton, quickly finished her meal and fell asleep on the bed. She was not even in the mood to untie her hair. Seeing that Ina had fallen asleep, Ning Chun went forward to untie her hair so that she could sleep more comfortably. Under the candlelight, the little girl was slender and elegant. She was at the age of blooming, the best time of her life. A trace of emotion flashed through Ning Chun's eyes. Ina had already grown up. Unknowingly, so many years had passed. Without thinking too much, Ning Chun suppressed the emotions in his heart. He walked to the window and looked at Divine General Baiqin's residence, not far away. His eyes calmed down again without any changes. The flourishing human world was very similar to the great Xia of the past. 30 years had passed, and the past was like the clouds that could never be returned. After a while, the image of a phoenix appeared in the room. Phoenix flames rose, and a blood-red sword embryo appeared in the flames. After countless days and nights of tempering, it had finally taken the form of a sword. The Star Soul Essence steel that was found in the Seven Kills Palace of the Heavenly Sanctum was unimaginably hard. Even with the refinement of the phoenix flames, it was difficult to temper it. Ning Chun did not purposely care about the sword embryo in the phoenix flames. He looked at the residence in front of him under the night sky and waited quietly. The night gradually passed and nothing happened. When the sky gradually brightened, the phoenix flames dissipated, and the sword embryo in the fire also disappeared. Ning Chun closed the window, turned around and walked to the door. He opened the door and went downstairs. On the first floor, after the sky brightened, customers came down one after another. Ning Chun ordered a simple meal for the little girl, and after giving some instructions to the shopkeeper, he walked out of the inn. In front of Divine General Qing Zhao's residence, red clothes appeared. Her appearance was even more obvious, and she instantly entered the residence. In front of the residence, the guards only saw a blur. Before they could react, they could no longer see the figure of the person who had entered. "Who is it?" In the residence, the hidden expert roared. However, the person seemed to have entered a place where there was no one. In a flash, she had already arrived in Divine General Qing Zhao's room. Inside the room, Divine General Qing Zhao was still unconscious. A beautiful woman was sitting by the bed, taking care of the man on the bed with her clothes untied. Red clothes appeared without any warning. The woman trembled and immediately stood in front of the man on the bed. Just at this moment, a tender voice rang out from outside the room. Shortly after, a small figure appeared and broke the momentary stalemate. "Mother!" Outside the room, a little boy who was not even 3 years old poked his head out and called out in a childish voice. Unable to sense the abnormal atmosphere in the room, he staggered into the room. The woman's expression changed, and she hurriedly shouted, "Don't come in!" Hearing the stern reprimand, the little boy trembled and looked at his mother in confusion. His beautiful eyes were filled with tears. Ning Chun turned back to look at the little boy. Without saying anything, he looked back at the unconscious figure on the bed. His figure flashed and appeared in front of her. The woman trembled. She wanted to stop him, but it was too late. The blue frost sword appeared, automatically protecting its master. Unexpectedly, the moment they clashed, red clothes sword momentum changed. The yellow springs opened and sealed the blue frost sword. "I'll take this sword with me." As soon as he finished speaking, Red Coat retreated, brushing past him and leaving the room. Not long after Red Clothes left, 2 old figures appeared in the room. Their powerful auras shook the world. "Where is he?" asked one of the old men. "He's already left," said the woman with a heavy expression. The old man frowned and looked at Qing Xiao on the bed. Is he here for revenge? Doesn't look like it. The woman shook her head and said, he had a chance just now. He could have killed all of us. But he only took the blue frost sword and didn't attack us. He came for the sword. The old man narrowed his eyes, feeling puzzled. The blue frost sword was indeed extraordinary. It was one of the 3 famous swords of the Jinsi dynasty. However, it was not normal to choose to steal the sword in broad daylight. Report what happened today to the Imperial Lord. Also, ask Divine General Baiqin to come here. White lightning and blue frost can sense each other. Maybe we can find the whereabouts of the person who stole the sword. The other old man said calmly. Ningchen came to the Fulai Inn. On the first floor, Ener was eating. Seeing him come back, she raised her head and smiled brightly. Ningchen walked to the table and sat down. He picked up the bowl, chopsticks and porridge prepared by the little girl and ate quietly. Where did you go? Ener picked up some vegetables and put them in his bowl. To steal a sword, Ningchen said honestly. Oh, Ener responded softly and didn't care. She continued to ask, why did you steal a sword? To refine a sword. Also, to cause some trouble for the Jinsi dynasty, Ningchen said softly. At the same time, Divine General Baiqin appeared in Divine General Qing Zhao's residence. After hearing the woman's detailed description, she couldn't help but frown. Who was it? What was their goal? Or was this person the 9th son of Mahist? The answer was hard to be certain. Baiqin waved her hand and held the sword. White lightning flashed and intertwined, shooting straight into the sky. Thunder and lightning appeared on a clear day. The sword pressure filled the entire Jinsi dynasty, looking for traces of the blue frost sword. In the Fulai Inn, Ningchen felt the sword pressure from the sky. He ignored it and continued to eat. In Divine General Qing Zhao's residence, after searching for a long time, Baiqin put away her sword and said, the blue frost sword is indeed still in the imperial city. However, I can't be sure where it is. The person who stole the sword is not an ordinary person. He sealed the sword's aura. It's very difficult to detect it. Hearing this, the woman sighed softly. She bowed politely and said, we can't lose the blue frost sword. I'll leave this matter to you, Divine General Baiqin. I'll do my best. Divine General Baiqin nodded and said. In the Fulai Inn, Ener put down her bowl and chopsticks. She had finished all the food on the table. Not even a grain of rice was left. To the side, the waiter was speechless. He had seen people who could eat, but he had never seen someone who could eat so much. That red-robed youth had clearly not touched his chopsticks much. Chapter 652. Golden flames rose in front of the dragon throne in the Jinsi sacred palace. Sovereign Lord Jinsi, who had gathered the karmic luck of a dynasty, stood there, looking like a divine king. Divine General Baiqin had come because of what had happened in Divine General Qing Zhao's residence. She half knelt. You may rise. Have you found out who it was? Asked Sovereign Lord Jinsi. The person who stole the sword sealed the Azure Frost Sword's aura. We can only sense that the sword is still in the dynasty, but we don't know its exact location, reported Divine General Baiqin. He didn't injure anyone, and left after stealing the sword. It seems that person doesn't have much enmity with the Azure Frost Sword. Are there any suspects? Asked Sovereign Lord Jinsi. My guess is that it was done by Emo Gate's 9th son. However, the portrait provided by the Azure Frost Manor is quite different from what the 9th son looks like, said Divine General Baiqin. Emo Gate's 9th son cultivates a special technique that allows him to change his appearance. He was able to fool everyone in the Red One realm. Such a small matter shouldn't be difficult for him, said Sovereign Lord Jinsi. If it really was done by Emo Gate's 9th son, why would he choose to steal the sword in broad daylight? With his cultivation base, it's not impossible for him to do it without anyone noticing, frowned Divine General Baiqin. Warning, said Sovereign Lord Jinsi. He might be suspecting that woman's death is related to the Jinsi dynasty. If that's really the case, then he might bring us quite a bit of trouble in the future, said Divine General Baiqin. Emo Gate's disciples are not ordinary people. If possible, we can't kill him. Otherwise, it'll be hard to explain to Emo Gate's master. Find him and take back the Azure Frost Sword. Have him retreat, said Sovereign Lord Jinsi calmly. What if he insists on resisting? Asked Divine General Baiqin. Then there's no need to be lenient. Have Mo Gate taken another disciple, said Sovereign Lord Jinsi indifferently. Understood. Divine General Baiqin bowed respectfully and left. The Imperial City, the Heavenly Yuan Pavilion. Ning Chen brought to the bustling Yi Pavilion. Looking at the dazzling array of treasures, he continued to the second floor. What do you want to buy? Asked curiously. Something of extreme coldness, replied Ning Chen. Refining a sword is so troublesome. Sighed. If the quality of the sword is too poor, it will break easily. The Star Soul essence is a rare material. If it can't be made into a sword in the end, it will be very difficult to find another material of the same grade, explained Ning Chen. Where did the Star Soul Mother Steel come from? Asked, puzzled. I stole it, Ning Chen said honestly. Back on the Heavenly Mansion planet, the Star Soul Mother Steel that he had snatched from the Seven Kills Palace Master had been of great use. While the two of them were talking, they had already arrived at the treasure area on the second floor. As far as their eyes could see, there were all sorts of rare treasures, great medicines, cultivation techniques, and refining materials. Ning Chen released his divine sense and scanned the entire second floor. Then he walked towards the furthest corner. You found it? Asked puzzled. Yes, Ning Chen replied softly. On the west corner of the second floor, there was a stall that specialized in dealing with divine treasures. All kinds of treasures that had just been unearthed did not look good. Ning Chen stepped forward, picked up a rusty iron sword, looked at it, and threw it down. Everything was in a mess, each one more broken than the last. Basically, no one would pick them up even if they were thrown down from the second floor. Divine treasures sounded very tempting, but that was all there was to it. Time was merciless. After thousands of years, even divine materials would become scrap metal. After a long time, Ning Chen took out a piece of divine metal that still had spiritual energy. He looked at the old man in front of him and asked, How much? 100 pieces of celestial jade. The old man behind the stall looked listlessly at it and said casually, 10 pieces, said Ning Chen calmly. Deal, said the old man indifferently. Ning Chen paid the celestial jade and put away the divine metal. Then, he looked at a broken jade slip that only had 1/10 of it left. He asked, What is this? A divine forbidden technique, said the old man. What forbidden technique? Asked Ning Chen with a frown. I don't know, said the old man impatiently. How much? Ning Chen did not ask any more questions. 1,000 pieces of celestial jade, said the old man. 100 pieces, said Ning Chen calmly. Take it. The old man waved his hand. Ning Chen took out the celestial jade and took the jade slip. I want this. Squatted down and picked up a shiny bracelet. Her little face was full of expectation. 5,000 pieces of celestial jade, said the old man. Ning Chen was silent. After a moment he said, 5 pieces. If you don't want it, then I don't want it. Deal, said the old man with satisfaction. Ning Chen helplessly paid the celestial jade. He had given the 5 pieces of celestial jade for free. Did I lose out? Asked softly. Not at all. It's quite pretty, said Ning Chen gently. The old man smiled and did not say anything. Picking up 5 pieces of celestial jade for free was not bad. Ning Chen's gaze returned to the rusty iron sword. He picked it up and said, How much for this? 5,000 pieces of celestial jade. No bargaining, said the old man calmly. Ning Chen sighed and put down the iron sword. He looked at the stone pearl next to the iron sword and said, How about this? Buy one get one free. Not sold separately. The old man narrowed his eyes. 10 pieces of celestial jade. Only the pearl, said Ning Chen with a frown. Not selling. The old man bluntly refused. Ning Chen stood up and looked at the little girl beside him. Let's go. Not far away, a young woman who had been paying attention to the transaction walked over. She smiled and said, Young master, why are you in such a rush? You can look at other things. No need. Ning Chen shook his head and left with the little girl. After the two of them left, the woman looked at the old man in front of the stall and bitterly smiled. Elder Yu, Your item's price is too outrageous. It won't sell like this. The old man faintly smiled. Divine treasures are all about luck. If the price is too low, no one will buy it. But that young man clearly knows his stuff. The price you gave will only scare him away, said the woman helplessly. That's true. With that, the old man stood up, picked up the iron sword, and threw it out of the window. Outside Heavenly Yuan Pavilion, Ningchen sensed something and raised his hand to catch the iron sword. His eyes narrowed slightly. This sword is for you. 3,000 pieces of celestial jade for the pearl. The old man's voice rang out from the second floor. Ningchen nodded and said, I'll take it. With that, Ningchen brought Ener back to the second floor of Heavenly Yuan Pavilion. With a wave of his hand, he sent out 3,000 pieces of celestial jade. The boundless spiritual energy immediately attracted several gazes. The old man flipped his hand and swiped across the celestial jade. With a flash of light, the mountain of celestial jade disappeared. The young woman's expression changed. Just who is this young man? He actually spent such a large amount of money on divine treasures that are mostly useless. Miss, which family's prodigal son is that? He threw away so many celestial jade just like that. Not far from the counter, a pretty girl dressed as a maid looked in front of her in surprise. Don't speak nonsense. A dignified and elegant woman softly reprimanded her. Then she apologetically nodded at the red-clothed man. She knew that this young man had heard everything just now. Ningchen nodded in return. He didn't mind. Young master, is there anything else you need? As long as it's something you like, I can give you a 20% discount. Hua Xian said with a smile. It was rare to see such a straightforward buyer. Ningchen thought for a moment and said, I have 2 weapons. I wonder if your pavilion is willing to accept them. The young woman's eyes flashed with surprise. She said, Young master, please come with me. Ningchen nodded and followed her with Ener. In a luxuriously decorated room, a middle-aged man was wiping the weapons on the counter. When he saw the 3 of them walk over, he gently wiped his hands and said calmly, What is it? This young master has 2 weapons that he wants to sell. I brought them for you to take a look, replied the young woman. Oh. The middle-aged man raised his brows. What weapons? Ningchen waved his hand, and a cold saber and a rusty divine spear appeared. The temperature in the room suddenly dropped. The dense killing intent made one's hair stand on end. Seeing the sharp and bone-piercing saber on the table, the middle-aged man's eyes flickered. He said, Young master, how much do you want to sell these 2 weapons? For the saber, 2,000 immortal jades. As for the spear, it's only for exchange, said Ningchen. The middle-aged man frowned. I can accept the saber. But as for the spear, forgive me for being blunt. This spear should have come from a divine treasury. Perhaps it was once priceless, but now. The man didn't say the rest, but it was self-evident. The probability of a divine treasury giving away a treasure was too low. Especially weapons, most of them were just scrap metal. Ener, let's go. Ningchen didn't say anything else. He directly put away the 2 weapons and walked out. The woman's expression became anxious, but the middle-aged man shook his head, indicating for her not to stop him. Once the 2 of them left, the middle-aged man turned back to tidy up the weapons on the counter. He said, The saber isn't bad, but the spear is truly worthless. It's not worth spending a large amount of money to buy it. Wrong. At this moment, the old man walked over and said indifferently, 2,000 immortal jades for that saber is too expensive. That spear is a true priceless treasure. When the 2 of them returned to the Fortune Inn, the sky had already darkened. The sky that had been clear for several days was now covered in dark clouds. Thunder rumbled, as if a heavy rain was coming. Ener wanted to eat something, so Ningchen returned to his room first. With a wave of his hand, he took out the divine restriction jade slip he had bought today. He probed it with his spiritual sense to see if there were any changes to the restrictions within. After probing for a long time, he wasn't able to discover much. Only 1/10 of the extremely damaged jade slip remained. It was far from enough to restore the original appearance of the restrictions. Yellow Springs, Passing Time, Immortal Execution. The many divine restrictions that had shaken the world in the ancient era had basically been lost. The restrictions within the jade slip weren't as complicated as the previous 3. Ningchen didn't waste any more time. He put away the jade slip and took out the stone bead. With a flip of his hand, he shattered it. In that instant, silver light filled his eyes. The stone bead dissipated, and in its final moment, it erupted with an intense chill. It had once been a rare treasure, but after the corrosion of time, there wasn't much remaining energy left. Cold chi erupted, followed by phoenix flames. Within the flames, a blood-red sword floated up and down, absorbing the cold chi and tempering its edge. The cold chi spread, tempering the edge of the sword. When it ran out of energy, the blue frost sword appeared, and the yellow springs restriction opened. The instant the cold chi spread, restrictions appeared once more, sealing the sword. At this moment, in a nearby residence, Divine General Baiqin suddenly opened her eyes, the light in her eyes bursting forth. Chapter 653. In the Golden Dawn Sacred Hall, Imperial Lord Golden Dawn stood in front of the dragon throne. Golden flames floated around him. Below the hall, Divine General Baiqin bowed respectfully. He had come because of what had happened in Divine General Qing Zhao's residence. In the Divine General's residence, Baiqin stood up and looked ahead. Surprise flashed through his eyes. The blue frost sword had finally appeared again. Stepping out, Divine General Baiqin summoned the white lightning sword with a flip of his hand. He poured his vital essence in and immediately, lightning shot into the sky, resonating with the Xian thunder of the 9 heavens. With the help of the heavenly thunder, the white lightning sword shone brightly. The lightning that ran through the world spread, and the sword pressure covered the entire dynasty. On the second floor of the Fortune Inn, the blue frost sword trembled violently in the phoenix fire, resonating with the white lightning sword. Ningchen looked at the sky and flipped his palm. Within the phoenix fire, the blood-red sword embryo hummed. He used the sword to seal the sword and forcefully suppressed the blue frost sword. This was a battle of swords. Although it was not a direct confrontation, it was still extremely intense. Less than 1,000 feet away, the 2 top experts, one in the light and one in the dark, faced off against each other in a battle of swords. After a moment of stalemate, Ning Chen's aura surged. Within the phoenix fire appeared and engulfed the blue frost sword. The aura on the sword immediately disappeared. In the sky, Divine General Baiqin sensed this and his eyes focused. Boom! The 9 heavens rumbled and dark clouds roiled. Rain poured down, immediately enveloping the entire imperial city in the coldness of the autumn rain. Divine General Baiqin sighed softly. He withdrew his aura and slowly descended. Suddenly, the wind blew and the rain splashed. A white-haired figure in black robes strode over. His extremely powerful aura was shocking. Divine General Baiqin was taken aback, and his pupils constricted. The demonic cultivator in front was dragging an azure-robed figure in his hand. He left bloody marks on the ground that were washed away by the rain and gradually dispersed. Qingxiao. Divine General Baiqin was furious, and the killing intent in his eyes was difficult to suppress. The demonic cultivator formed a demonic seal and sealed it into Divine General Qing Zhao's body. He then waved his hand and tossed him to the side. He said indifferently, "Don't worry, he's not dead yet. However, if someone interferes, you can collect his corpse." Divine General Baiqin's killing intent surged. He stepped forward and charged. The white lightning was unsheathed, and the lightning flashed. The Jinshi divine weapon once again shone with a peerless sharpness. However, the demonic cultivator was not afraid at all. Amidst the surging demonic aura, a demonic sword engraved with strange patterns appeared. The moment he held the sword, thunder from the 9th heaven came crashing down. Demons were abandoned by the heavens and were not allowed to exist in this world. Bolts of lightning landed on the bodies of the demons, wanting to exterminate the demons of the human world. Noisy, the demon cultivator shouted coldly. The demon chi around him soared into the sky and dispersed the lightning. The 2 swords clashed, and the raging waves collided with each other. Lightning and devil chi consumed each other, and the frightening aftershocks rapidly spread out. The 2 experts fought. Above the sacred hall, The light was extremely dazzling. The figure of an emperor shrouded in golden flames appeared. He raised his hand and stabilized the surging heaven and earth. Emperor Jinxi appeared. On the ground, the unconscious divine general Qing Xiao rose and flew towards the royal palace. In the battle, the demonic cultivator sneered and did not stop him. Chapter 654. Above the palace, Imperial Lord Jin Shi gathered yuan and poured it into divine general Qing Zhao's body. In an instant, imprints exploded and demonic qi surged, spreading through the latter's meridians. Seeing this, the Imperial Lord stopped and frowned. What a strange demonic imprint. After thinking for a while, Imperial Lord Jin Shi looked at the battle and said, "Kill him and the demonic imprint in Qing Zhao's body will be removed." Yes. The battle separated. In the pouring rain, the divine general Baiqing calmly accepted the order. With a flip of her left hand, thousands of bolts of lightning streaked across her sword. In an instant, the white lightning was as dazzling as the stars, illuminating the 9 heavens. In the imperial city, countless people felt the pressure from the sky and knelt on the ground, trembling. The divine general attacked. Thunder rumbled and howled. The demonic cultivator focused and his sword rotated. Demonic qi surged and strengthened the sword. The divine sword and demonic sword clashed. The demonic cultivator took half a step back, his mouth red. On the other side, divine general Baiqing was also injured. His blood qi surged violently. Sky-burning demonic flame. Blood flowed like flames. The demonic cultivator roared, his white hair flying wildly. Demonic flame burned the sky and boiled the sea. The shocking demonic flame covered the entire sky. In the demonic flame, the rain turned into white mist. The demonic cultivator moved. His sword aura was even stronger than before. He slashed with his sword. With a thump, the divine general Baiqing swung her sword to block the attack. White lightning wailed. In the clash between the two swords, it was the demonic sword that won. Back off. Divine general Baiqing's face sank. His true essence surged and strengthened his sword aura. He pushed the demonic cultivator away and stepped into the 9 heavens. He stood under the thunderclouds. White lightning flashed and gathered the thunder from all directions. The demonic sword of the 9 heavens appeared. Qilin. Lightning manifested and a Qilin descended. The earth-shattering sword move destroyed the void within 100 miles. The heavens sensed it and trembled. The sword move was extremely fast and powerful. The demonic cultivator's eyes turned cold. The demonic flames around him gathered like a tide, forming a protective shield in front of him. The demonic flames dissipated, and the lightning passed through his body. The demonic cultivator grunted and blood flowed from his mouth. The might of the immortal trampling divine general was immeasurable. The powerful demonic cultivator finally showed signs of defeat. Above the palace, Emperor Jin Shi watched the battle calmly. Because he was worried about divine general Qing Zhao's safety, he did not intervene. He believed that divine general Baiqing was strong enough to deal with this demon. Although they were both divine general Jin Shi, Baiqing was undoubtedly more powerful than Qing Xiao. With the help of the white lightning godly sword, there were few who could match her in the emptiness realm. The strongest divine general dared to block 100 men. In the sky, in the battle, the situation was tipping. The demonic cultivator was dyed red. But the coldness in his eyes did not diminish in the slightest. His sword swept across as if it was light. Mad Doomsday. The demonic cultivator spoke. The heavens and earth were solemn. In an instant there was silence. The oppressive atmosphere made it seem as if space itself had stopped. A moment later, a terrifying demonic aura swept out. Thunder and lightning from the 9th heaven rumbled. The demonic sword in the demonic cultivator's hand changed. The sword body and hilt continued to grow. A black aura spread out and coiled around the sword body. The moment the doomsday weapon, the sword of God crossing, appeared, the extreme power on the sword vibrated violently. The thunder and lightning dissipated instantly. In the rolling demonic aura, the doomsday demonic weapon, which was more than 7 feet long, appeared. The sword body and the hilt each occupied half of the sword body. The dazzling black light was abnormally dazzling. Seeing the demonic sword in the demonic cultivator's hand, Divine General Bai Qin's eyes narrowed. She circulated her vital energy and was on full alert. The demonic cultivator arrived. The mad doomsday sword slashed across the sky, turning into a dazzling black light. Before she could react, the sword light had already arrived. Divine General Bai Qin blocked with her sword, but she felt an irresistible force pressing down on her. It was as if the heavens and earth were pressing down on her, extremely heavy. With a loud sound, the Divine General fell and crashed into the ground. Seeing that the situation was unfavorable, Emperor Jin Shi's expression darkened. Finally, he could not wait any longer. He stepped out and instantly joined the battle. His palm was powerful. Golden flames surged and drowned out the demonic flames. The Emperor's aura shocked the heavens and the earth. The demonic cultivator waved his sword and released golden flames. The sword edge met the attack. With a loud sound, the demonic cultivator retreated several steps. Blood flowed out and dyed the hand holding the sword red. A peak corporeal realm expert was unrivaled. Your interference is extremely foolish. The demonic cultivator snorted coldly. His eyes flashed. In the distance above the palace, a waterfall of blood exploded. Divine General Qing Zhao's entire body exploded, turning into bloody bones that scattered in all directions. No! On the ground, Divine General Bai Qin staggered to her feet. Looking at the rain of blood in the distance, her eyes instantly turned blood red. How dare you? Emperor Jin Shi was furious. He stepped forward and the wind and clouds changed in his palm. Seeing this, the demonic cultivator's expression did not change. He half knelt, and black demonic chi surged around him. The image of a demonic god appeared, and the pressure of the 9 heavens and 10 earths roared out. On the second floor of Fulaiyan, Ning Chen's pupils shrank when he saw the image of a demonic god appear in the sky. His calm expression changed for the first time. How is this possible? In the battle, the image of a demonic god appeared. The moment it opened its eyes, the golden chi around the demonic cultivator rapidly dissipated. It was actually forcefully suppressed by the demonic god's aura. Emperor Jin Shi's face darkened, and he pushed his palm even more. Suddenly, the golden chi in the depths of the palace rushed into the sky like an ocean, supporting the demonic cultivator. The demonic cultivator and the demonic cultivator clashed. The image of a demonic god shook the 1,000 years of Jinsi dynasty's chi. Rumbling, the 9 heavens sank, and terrifying waves continued to spread. In the aftermath, the image of a demonic god dissipated. More than half of the Jinsi dynasty's chi around the demonic cultivator also dissipated. The demonic cultivator was hit with a deadly palm. The demonic sword blocked the palm power, and the demonic cultivator was forced back a few steps. He was severely injured. On the other side, Emperor Jin Shi's mouth also turned red after receiving the backlash of the image of a demonic god. He could not believe that the demonic cultivator had injured a peak corporeal realm expert. In 100 years, you are the first person to injure me. I admire you. Emperor Jin Shi said coldly. He turned his palm and condensed the chi of Jinsi dynasty again. Majestic golden flames rose rapidly. This was a demon-slaying technique. Sky Dragon Shock. At this moment, a red figure appeared in the battle. A white light appeared, and an azure dragon roared and crashed into the demonic cultivator. Retreat! After one move, Ning Chen's figure flashed and quickly left with the heavily injured Xia Zi. In the battle, the azure dragon sword chi attacked. Emperor Jin Shi's eyes narrowed. He turned his palm and dispersed the sword chi. When he focused again, the demonic cultivator was already gone. The 9th son of Maha's sect. Emperor Jin Shi's eyes flashed coldly. It was indeed this kid who ruined it. On the ground, seeing the enemy leave, Divine General Bai Qin was so anxious that he staggered and vomited blood again. Seeing this, Emperor Jin Shi's figure flashed and instantly appeared below. He poured his true yuan into the general and forcibly stabilized his injuries. Thank you, Emperor. Divine General Bai Qin said weakly. Emperor Jin Shi nodded. He looked forward and said coldly, I was too careless. This demonic cultivator's power is beyond imagination, especially that weapon and the image of a demonic god. They are too powerful. They don't seem to belong to the human world. I have to avenge Qing Xiao. Divine General Bai Qin said in a low voice. Recuperate first. Wait for me to contact Master Mo. We will discuss this. I want to see how Master Mo will give me an explanation for what happened today. Emperor Jin, she said coldly. 1,000 miles to the west of Jinsi Dynasty, Ning Chen appeared with Xia Zi. Without saying anything, he turned his palm and condensed his qi. Majestic phoenix qi poured into the latter's body to help him suppress his injuries. On the side, Ener looked nervously at the demonic cultivator in front of her. Her big eyes were full of vigilance. After a few breaths, Ning Chen stopped and withdrew his true yuan. In front of him, the demonic cultivator slowly opened his eyes. Chapter 655. On the western side of the imperial city, the demon opened his eyes. Killing intent circulated around him, but when he looked back, he was completely emotionless. The demon turned around and waved his sword. The cold sword light was extremely dazzling. Ning Chen caught the demon sword. He looked at the person in front of him and said, "Friend, you don't even trust me?" Long time no see, knowing Marquis. The demon cultivator put away his sword. Long time no see. Ning Chen sighed. I will remember your kindness for saving me today. We'll meet again if fate allows. With that, Xia Zi walked forward without any hesitation. Luofei, where is she now? Ning Chen calmly asked as he looked at the demon cultivator's back. Xia Zi's body trembled. Killing intent surged around him. He coldly said, I don't know. Perhaps she's dead. Ning Chen clenched his fists. His figure flashed, and his sword pressed forward. The two swords clashed. White light and the wild apocalypse collided. Sword currents surged, instantly destroying the surrounding wilderness. If she's dead, why are you still alive? Ning Chen coldly asked. The demon cultivator turned his palm and condensed his devil yuan. He slammed his palm down, his power shaking the heavens. Ning Chen condensed his phoenix yuan and met the demon cultivator's attack head-on. With a bang, the two sides separated. The demon cultivator coldly said, because the one who should die isn't dead yet. Ning Chen put away his sword. He looked forward and said, at this moment, who else can you trust besides me? Xia Zi was silent. After a long time he said, she said that if someone wanted to save her, it could only be me. Luofei is kind and doesn't want to implicate anyone. But with the strength of those coffin bearers, can you save her by yourself? Ning Chen coldly asked. Since you already know who did it, you should know how dangerous those people are. Not getting involved is the safest choice for you. Furthermore, do you still have the energy to care about other people's affairs? Xia Zi said coldly. Reviving the ghost girl isn't something that can be done in a short time. But Luofei's matter can't be delayed. Those people must have some other goal for taking her away. When we meet again, I hope to see the Eternal Night Sect's disciple alive, not a corpse, Ning Chen said. Do you think I can trust you? Xia Zi asked coldly. You can only trust me. Xia Zi, I know that demons tend to be suspicious, but you have no other choice, Ning Chen slowly said. At the same time, in the Jinshi Sacred Palace, golden flames rose. Emperor Jin, she stood quietly in front of the dragon throne, looking at the void of the palace, waiting for someone to come. Moments later, the seven-colored light gathered above the void, and a white-robed shadow appeared, descending upon the Jinsi dynasty. Master Mo. Sovereign Jin, she looked at the person in front of him, and said lightly. Emperor Lord, you must have summoned me here for something important. Just say it. Emoju said calmly. Lord Mo, you should have heard of the devil calamity on Galistar, said Empress Jin Shi. That's right. I've already sent old Nine here. Has the Emperor Lord not seen him yet? Emoju asked. I did. However, your disciple saved the devil fetus. Shouldn't you give me an explanation? Said Empress Jinsi coldly. Emoju frowned and said, Emperor Lord, did you recognize the wrong person? Or did someone impersonate old Nine to frame Mo Gate? Are you doubting my judgment, Master Mo? Overlord Jinsi asked coldly. Emperor Lord, you're exaggerating. Emoju replied, then continued. Emperor Lord, don't worry. If this is really old Nine's doing, I'll definitely give you a satisfactory explanation. I hope so, said Emperor Jinshi indifferently. I'll deal with this matter as soon as possible. I won't disturb you any longer. Farewell. As soon as he finished speaking, the seven-colored light in the void dissipated, and Mo Zhu's figure faded and disappeared. Looking at the empty palace, a strange light flashed in Emperor Jinshi's eyes. Master of Mo Gate, this time, what will you choose? In the wilderness to the west of the dynasty, the two friends who had been through life and death for 20 years finally met again. There was no greeting, only a tense confrontation. Luofei had been taken away when she was on the verge of death, so it was almost impossible for her to be alive. However, this was the only thing holding them back. Where did these people come from? Asked Ningchen. I don't know. They suddenly appeared and disappeared. There were 13 of them in total, and each of them carried a coffin on their back. Each of them was above the treading immortal realm, said Xiazi. Hearing this, Ningchen pondered silently. There had never been such an organization in the Red Phoenix Star Zone. It was impossible for a sect with so many treading immortal realm experts to remain unknown. The only explanation was that these people were not from the Red Phoenix Star Zone. Don't think too much. The nearby star zones belonged to the Jinsi dynasty. These people appeared and caused such a big commotion. Emperor Jin, she must have known about it. So far, the Jinsi dynasty hasn't done anything. There must be a secret behind it. Since we can't find it, we'll eliminate them one by one, said Xiazi with killing intent in his eyes. So, you killed all the people in the Jinsi dynasty's territory who might be related, even those who might be innocent, said Ningchen in a deep voice. What's wrong? Are you moved by compassion? Jiming Marquis, put away your useless kindness. You saved the world, but how will the world repay you? Heroes have always been synonymous with sorrow since ancient times. The world doesn't need heroes, Xiazi mocked. Ningchen was silent. He didn't answer. Ninth brother, what are you doing? At this moment, the wind and clouds in the sky began to swirl. A white-robed figure walked out. A powerful and strange pressure descended, causing the three of them to feel heavy. Seeing this person, Ningchen's expression sank. How was this possible? How did Master Mo know where he was? Ninth brother, have you forgotten the mission I gave you? Kill this devil, and then apologize to Sovereign Jin Shi. If you do that, I'll pretend this matter never happened, said Mo Zhu. Impossible, said Ningchen as he pulled Yin behind him. Then you're going to disobey my orders, said Master Mo coldly. Xiazi, let's go. Knowing that Master Mo's strength was unfathomable, Ningchen didn't want to waste any more time. His figure flashed, and he quickly left with the two of them. You can't leave, said Master Mo coldly. His figure scattered, disappearing from the sky, flying rapidly through the night sky. A stream of light flashed by as it traversed 1,000 miles, 10,000 miles. The Phoenix's extreme speed brought the two of them far away from the danger. However, Master Mo seemed to know their whereabouts. Not long after they stopped, a seven-colored light would appear. There's no need to run. Haven't you sensed it? Your aura can't escape his senses. 10,000 miles away, Xiazi looked at the seven-colored light behind them. Devils, a race with no value at all. He then looked at his disciple and said, Ninth brother, you've really disappointed me. Ningchen's expression sank. As expected, there was a problem with the Sun True Scripture in his body. Fortunately, the Sun True Scripture in his devil body had already been transferred. Otherwise, he really would have been in danger. Phoenix Flame soared, attempting to destroy the Sun True Scripture. However, the Sun True Scripture suddenly awakened on its own, forcibly resisting the Phoenix Flames. After failing to destroy the Sun True Scripture, Ningchen's expression became even more grave. This was troublesome. You want to destroy your own body. Ninth brother, you betrayed Mo Gate and protected this devil. Your choice has infuriated me. It seems that letting you leave the mountain this time has made you forget the etiquette of respecting your master, said Master Mo coldly. Ningchen ignored him and held Yin'er's hand. He glanced at Xiazi and said, Be careful. If you can't pass this trial, you'll really be buried here. Xiazi focused and said, Your foundation is lacking. I'll block it. Take this chance to attack its weak point. Sure. Ningchen nodded. Betraying your master and betraying the Tao. How foolish. Master Mo raised his hand, and the seven-colored immortal technique appeared once more. In an instant, the night sky was filled with a rainbow light. Xiazi waved his hand, and the devil sword changed. The berserk apocalypse appeared. Powerful devil chi surged, blocking the immortal technique. The immortal technique shook the devil's might. The devil was forced back several steps, and the devil chi around him violently shook. Samsara, the devil's sword pierced the ground, and thousands of sword lights soared into the sky. The cycle was endless, and it swept toward the illusory figure floating in the void. Waning moon. Master Mo raised his hand again, and a black moon appeared in the world. Black and white intertwined, and an imperfection appeared in the midst of the perfection. The earth-shattering celestial technique froze heaven and earth. After a moment of silence, a frightening scene appeared. The sword light that filled the sky dissipated, and the demonic cultivator's body began to crack from his left arm along with the incomplete full moon, gradually spreading out. The might of the immortal technique appeared again, and it was difficult for humans to block it. The devil endured the pain and half knelt down. The devil chi around him surged, and the image of a god and devil appeared behind him. Its aura surpassed the limits of the human world, and the whole world shook. The devil god appeared, and the devil chi shook violently. The immortal technique collapsed, and Master Mo's body flickered, and he retreated half a step. The moment Master Mo retreated, the phoenix appeared. In an instant, the red dress appeared in front of him, and the white sword chased after his soul. Master Mo squinted his eyes, and he turned his palm to block the sword. 7 colors rose, and the white sword couldn't move an inch. Seeing this, Xiazi stepped forward. The devil chi of the apocalypse was vast and mighty, and it supported the knowing destiny state. Your cooperation is not bad, but you are too weak. Master Mo condensed vast origin in his palm, and the two were sent flying. He raised his right hand again, and the immortal technique appeared again. Awakening moon, 7 rainbow berries the sun. The immortal technique appeared, and the power of the laws within hundreds of miles swirled crazily. In the void, an illusory divine sun appeared, and in an instant, it collapsed and swallowed the 3 people below. The might of the divine sun was unavoidable. The devil stepped forward, and the black feathers of the devil god behind him fluttered. The 12 wings of sin spread out, and in an instant, the wings of sin appeared behind the devil, and the destructive power of the devil spread rapidly. Behind him, Ningchen's pupil shrank. The familiar wings of sin, the most terrifying memory. When the wings of sin appeared, the devil's cultivation rose rapidly, and the doomsday weapon appeared in the sky, blocking the immortal technique again. With a bang, blood splattered, and the devil retreated. The red dress rushed out at the moment they passed each other, and it was extremely fast. As soon as the immortal technique appeared, the old force was exhausted, and before the new force could rise, the white sword broke through the 7-colored barrier and penetrated his body. Ugh! With a groan, Master Mo retreated half a step, and the aura of his body shook violently. After a moment, he endured the injury and turned his palm. The red dress flew out and landed on the ground, stumbling and vomiting blood. Chapter 656. In the battle under the night, the king and the Marquis fought against Mo. This was the first time they worked together, since the battle of sending off the gods. The brilliance in the moonlight, the sword tip was fast, and the sword tip was heavy. They cooperated with each other to fight for a way out. Mo, who had a shocking cultivation base, came here in his human form, but he already displayed terrifying strength. His every move was filled with immortal arts, suppressing the phoenix demon. The unshakable enemy fought to the climax. The demonic and knowing destiny's bodies were already red. Their sword-wielding hands were bleeding. Immortal art joys and sorrows. Mo raised his hand, and the black moon and white sun appeared in the world. The sun and moon appeared in the sky, and a terrifying aura erupted. Suddenly, yin and yang intersected, and were annihilated at the same time. The destructive power swept over. The demonic aura around the demonic cultivator was activated, and the demonic aura around him surged out. It turned into black wings of sin and spread in front of him, blocking the immortal art. When the immortal art and the demon art collided, everything fell. In the rumbling, the white rainbow fought for life. With a piercing sound, the sword was dyed in vermilion red. The extremely fast sword, with its speed supporting its sword might, broke through layer after layer of 7-colored multicolored light, once again piercing through the sword wound on Emoju's chest. Ugh! Emoju grunted, and raised his hand to point at the former. Suddenly, the wind and clouds changed and 7-colored lights shone. Invisible sword. Ningchen seemed to be unaware of the immortal art. The sword tip in his hand kept spinning, concentrating and concentrating. Countless sword intents gathered on the sword, breaking through the obstruction and penetrating further. With a bang, the sword tip entered the body. The 7-colored immortal art was activated at the same time. In an instant, the demonic cultivator's palm force arrived and blocked the fatal move. Terrifying waves shook violently, and the battle was shaken apart again. The two flew out and vomited blood when they landed. In the aftermath, Emoju's aura was violently unstable. The sword intent on the sword wound on his chest was in a frenzy, constantly eroding his body. You've done well. Next, it's time to end this battle. Emoju raised his hand and touched the wound, forcibly suppressing the sword wound. Immediately, the black and white aura around him surged rapidly. The power of yin and yang swept in all directions, and the shocking power covered the 9 heavens and the moon. The ultimate move descended, and the power was shocking. Within hundreds of miles, a large area of the ground was overturned. Crisscrossing cracks spread continuously, and the doomsday scene made people tremble. With the appearance of the yin-yang celestial art, Ningchen's extreme yang body was completely suppressed. The sun scripture was activated and actually restrained his body. With the imminent danger, Xia Zi gathered all of his demonic qi and infused it into the demonic sword. The sinful wings spread out behind his back, and the black feathers fluttered in the wind. Endless demonic qi overflowed, aiding his attack. Demon sword bury the heavens. The heaven-burying sword soared into the sky, and immediately slashed open the world. The full power of the demonic cultivator's sword was beyond the limit, splitting mountains and splitting seas. The moment the immortals and demons clashed, the heaven-burying sword shattered. The demon flew out, covered in blood. He was severely injured again. Seeing that the battle was in danger, Ningchen let out a deep shout, and no longer cared about anything else. The phoenix flames around his body rapidly rose, and within the flames, a blood-red sword embryo appeared. The incomplete sword did indeed have an indescribable sword pressure that was faintly discernible. With the astral soul iron essence as its foundation, the sword that had been tempered by the extreme cold and phoenix flames emitted a biting cold light that illuminated the world. His right hand clenched into a fist as his astral soul manifested, causing the heavens and earth to tremble. Above the 9 heavens, the dark clouds were dyed red by the sword light. Muffled sounds of thunder could be heard, as everyone was shocked by the appearance of an astral soul. With the astral soul in his hand, the sword light spread out and descended upon the world. Upon seeing this, Emoju turned his palm and blocked the sword light. With a loud bang, the black and white aura shook violently. The transformed body that was hit by the devil aura and phoenix origin trembled violently once again, showing signs of instability. Ningchen stepped forward, his figure moving with extreme speed. 2 swords shone, chasing after the soul and reaping life. Old 9, you have been hiding for so long, just for today? Emoju turned his palm to block the sword light, and immediately raised his hand to point at the tip of the astral soul sword. Ningchen pulled out his sword and turned around. The phoenix spread its wings, drawing the most dazzling sword rainbow in the night sky. Within the sword rainbow, the yin and yang aura protected his body, constantly blocking the sword light. Emoju was as immovable as a mountain. His aura circulated around him as he blocked the sword light again and again. It's a pity to have such a cultivation base. A strange light flashed in Emoju's eyes. He raised his right hand again. Instantly, the wind and clouds gathered, and black and white aura swirled rapidly. The yin-yang immortal technique appeared in the world once again. An extreme pressure swept over. Black feathers gathered, forming a barrier in front of him. The Devil Sword and the Astral Soul Sword joined hands to block the attack. With a loud bang, they both retreated a few steps. Compared to back then, your foundation is actually so weak now. Xia Zi raised his hand to wipe the blood from the corner of his mouth. There is no such thing as a perfect situation in the world. Friend, can you still hold on? Ningchen asked solemnly. Full of fighting spirit, Xia Zi said coldly. Ningchen nodded and looked forward. Mo Zhu is only here with his incarnation, so he can't hold on for too long. However, we don't seem to be able to hold on for too long either. Let's end this quickly. That's what I'm thinking. Xia Zi agreed. Black feathers fluttered around his body, and demonic aura surged on his 6-foot-long sword. His true origin erupted as he bet on his last move. Ningchen also gathered his phoenix aura. His 2 swords spun and 9 suns appeared. The martial arts of the heavenly book appeared. The rising phoenix aura and demonic aura flowed into the sky. The ultimate move cut open the night sky and descended upon the world. Mo Zhu raised his hand, and the immortal technique appeared again. Suddenly, the aura around him dissipated rapidly. Without any warning, half of his power dissipated. The ultimate move descended, and the void suddenly split open. The terrifying remaining power swallowed everything within 100 miles. Amidst the chaos, the two of them retreated several steps. They looked forward with solemn expressions. There was no one left in the void. They didn't know what had happened at the last moment. Since you're still alive, I'm relieved. At this moment, a calm voice rang out in the distance. Under the bleak moonlight, a green-robed woman walked over. She had a delicate appearance, but she didn't seem to be older than 20. She was elegant and quiet. The arrival of an unfamiliar person in the wilderness caused the two of them, who had just experienced a great battle, to calm down once more. There's no need to be nervous, 9th junior apprentice brother. I didn't think we would meet so soon, said the green-robed woman. You are. Ning Chen's eyes flashed with a strange light. Lulua, or you can call me 4th senior apprentice sister, said Lulua calmly. Ning Chen's expression shook. How is that possible? Are you doubting my identity? Lulua raised her hand, and rays of green light spread out. The two of them immediately felt as if they had sunk into a swamp. A moment later, Lulua waved her hand to disperse the green light. She calmly said, Are you still doubting me? Ning Chen suppressed his shock and bowed. He politely said, 4th senior apprentice sister. Let's go. If you have any questions, you can follow me back. As for you, it's up to you whether you come or not. After saying this, Lulua glanced at the demon beside Ning Chen and didn't say anything else. She turned and left. Ning Chen looked at his friend and said, Let's go. Let's find a place to heal first, and then discuss the future. Xia Zi nodded and remained silent. The three of them followed. After walking for a long time, looked at the woman's back. A moment later she raised her head. Her eyes were filled with anticipation. She asked, Ning Chen, is it possible that big sister Lingluo is still alive? Ning Chen sighed and shook his head. The possibility isn't high. Er's eyes dimmed when she heard this. She didn't ask any more questions. Yanji City was an ordinary small city several thousand miles away from the Jinxi dynasty. In the eastern part of the city, Lulua brought the three of them to a quiet mansion. After settling the three of them down, Lulua looked at the red-robed youth and calmly said, It's safe here. You can heal here. I'll go get some medicine for you. 4th senior apprentice sister. Ning Chen frowned. He was just about to speak when he was interrupted. If you have anything to say, wait until I come back with the medicine. After saying this, Lulua turned and left. Her attitude was neither cold nor warm, causing Er's heart to pound. Do you trust her? Asked Xia Zi coldly. At the very least, she doesn't have a direct conflict of interest with us, said Ning Chen calmly. Xia Zi narrowed her eyes. A moment later, she walked to the side and closed her eyes to heal. We'll leave our safety to you. If there's any trouble, just call for help, said Ning Chen softly as he rubbed her hair. Okay. Ina nodded her head vigorously and agreed. After saying those words, Ningchen walked over to the side and sat down to recuperate from his injuries. After exchanging blows with sovereign monarch Jin Shi and Mo Zhu in a single night, the injuries that he had accumulated were already severe. If he didn't recuperate quickly, he would be in deep trouble. Ina ran to the table and brought a small stool over. She sat at the door and acted as if she was protecting the two of them. An hour later, Luluwa returned with a pile of jade bottles in her hands. She pushed the door open and saw the little girl sitting at the door. "Come and help me." Ina immediately stood up and took a portion of the jade bottles. She asked curiously, "Are they going to finish all of this?" Luluwa raised her head and glanced at the little girl. "Half of this is poison." Ina's hands trembled, and she almost spilled all the bottles. "Be careful," Luluwa reminded her. She placed the bottles on the table and opened them one by one. After smelling the medicine, she placed them to the side. "Why isn't there a label on the bottle?" asked Ina. "I can recognize it." "Why would there be a label?" asked Luluwa calmly. Ina was speechless. She almost went crazy. Why was it that no one related to Ningchen was normal, except for herself? After Luluwa finished identifying the medicine, she took an empty bottle and poured out a different amount of medicine from each bottle. She then handed it to the little girl. "This belongs to that demon." Hearing this, Ina took the medicine bottle and carefully walked to Xiazi, who was not far away. After putting down the medicine bottle, she quickly walked back. Luluwa continued to make medicine. Each bottle had a different smell and color. Just looking at it made people dizzy. "Sister Luluwa, isn't half of the poison here?" Seeing that Luluwa had basically used all the medicine, Ina asked in fear. "Medicine is 30% poisonous. All medicine in the world is poisonous. These medicines are just a bit more poisonous. However, a stronger poison means that the medicine is also stronger. Ordinary medicine won't be able to help with their injuries," said Luluwa. "Nothing will happen, right?" asked Ina worriedly. "I can't guarantee that nothing will happen to others if they take these medicines, but..." At this point Luluwa's tone changed. "If they take it, they won't die even if they want to." Chapter 657. East of Yinji City. A bright moon hung high in the sky. The demon cultivator stood in the courtyard of a quiet mansion, looking at the horizon. His expression was as cold and silent as ever, without the slightest trace of human emotion. The kind-hearted emperor had left and never returned. From the moment the people of the Grand Xia betrayed their emperor, everything was irreparable. The coldness of a person's heart would always hurt the person who cherished them the most. Not far away, Ningchen walked over and threw a jar of wine over. He calmly said, "What are you thinking about?" "Revenge," Xiazi coldly said as he caught the jar. "Finding those people's whereabouts won't be easy. Recover first, then we'll discuss it," said Ningchen gravely. "I know what to do. You should think about your own matters. That Master Mo's strength is definitely not an ordinary corporeal realm expert. I really don't know how you could let yourself fall into such a dangerous situation with your wisdom," said Xiazi as he opened the jar and took a sip. "He's the person closest to the true realm in this world. Perhaps he knows a secret method of resurrection that others don't." Ningchen also took a sip of wine. A burning sensation rushed up his throat, making his injured body feel a bit better. "After cultivating for so long, do you really believe that there's a method of resurrection in this world?" Xiazi turned around and mocked. "I don't." Ningchen shook his head. "Then why are you so persistent?" asked Xiazi coldly. "A miracle." Ningchen took another sip and softly said, "Perhaps the current me is just a frog at the bottom of a well. I can't see the true sky." Xiazi sneered. "Jiming Marquis, how long are you going to lie to yourself? Have you ever lived for yourself in this life? First it was the Grand Xia, then it was the Divine Prefecture, and now it's the Ghost Girl. You don't like fighting, but you became the Martial Marquis of the Grand Xia. You're not suited for cultivation, but you still managed to reach the human sovereign realm. How far do you want to go? Treading immortal, true immortal, or God? Do you still remember what that woman from the desolate city you looked like? Ningchen was silent. He drank mouthful after mouthful of wine to numb the pain in his body. How many years has it been? Asked Xiazi as he looked at the sky. 20 years, replied Ningchen. Did she say anything in the end? Asked Xiazi. No. Ningchen shook his head. Jiming Marquis, if I die one day, please bury my bones beside her. I was unable to be filial when I was alive, so I'll go to the Yellow Springs to apologize after I die. Xiazi said indifferently. The Empress has never blamed you. Now that Xian Yu is by her side, it's enough. If you want to die, you should wait until you rescue Luofei. The debt you owe must be paid first, right? Ningchen smiled with a complex expression. I hope that one day, we'll walk together on the road to the Yellow Springs, Xiazi said indifferently as she raised her wine jug. Sure. Ningchen picked up the wine jug and clinked it loudly. Then, he drank all the wine in the jug in one gulp. At this moment, the door behind them creaked open, and the little girl walked out. She looked at the two people in the courtyard and shouted, Time's up. It's time to take your medicine. Xiazi looked back at the little girl and said calmly, Jiming Marquis, your disciple's talent is 1,000 times better than yours. Yes. Ningchen nodded and said, This child's temper is very similar to that little girl, a man. His natural talent is shocking, yet he doesn't like to cultivate. It'll be better if we discipline him a little. Here's your medicine. Einer took 2 steps forward and handed over a bottle of medicine. Then she moved to the side of the person beside her in fear, not daring to get too close to the devil in front of her. Don't be afraid. He's Master's friend, a friend who has gone through life and death together, softly said Ningchen as he rubbed the little girl's hair. Xiazi didn't say anything. He didn't admit or deny it. Einer was still a bit uncomfortable, and she carefully said, Big Sister Qingluo told me to make sure you take your medicine. She won't be back until later. Ningchen nodded and said, It's getting late. Go rest. We'll take our own medicine. No. Big Sister Qingluo told me to watch you finish it. Stubbornly refused. Crack. Xiazi directly crushed the jade bottle in his hand and poured the medicine into his mouth. Ningchen helplessly smiled and also opened his own bottle, swallowing the unbearable poison. Once the medicine entered his stomach, an intense stimulation rapidly spread through his meridians. The terrifying pain was like a raging inferno burning his body, making him wish he was dead. This highly toxic medicine had an extremely intense medicinal effect. Even the two of them couldn't help sweating. Einer was trembling with fear as she watched from the side. She was afraid that this medicine would really poison them to death. Are you all right? After a long time, seeing that their complexions had improved a bit, Einer tugged at the person beside her in concern. I'm fine. Ningchen smiled tiredly and replied, Of course they're fine. This medicine is to heal their injuries, not poison them to death. A green-robed woman walked over from outside the courtyard. She was holding a strangely shaped flower in her hand. It was silver gray and emitted a faint light. It was something he had never seen before. 4th senior apprentice sister. Ningchen politely greeted her. It seems you've recovered quite well. Come with me. Qingluo examined him. Ningchen nodded. He glanced at the two people beside him, but he didn't say anything and followed her. I'm going to sleep. Einer hastily ran back into her room, not daring to stay behind. Within the courtyard, Xiazi waved his hand and brought over another jug of wine. He silently drank it alone. Within the western courtyard's pharmacy, Qingluo brought Ningchen over. The 9 netherworld flower in her hand emitted an eerie light and a cold aura. Even from several steps away, they could feel an unbearable chill. This is a 9 netherworld flower. Eat one every 8 hours. Within the pharmacy, Qingluo tossed the 9 netherworld flower over. What use does it have? Ningchen received it. Looking at the 9 silver gray flowers, he didn't understand. The Sun True scripture in your body contains that old fellow's consciousness. This 9 netherworld flower is incomparably poisonous. Perhaps it will be of some help to you, said Qingluo. Cold sweat involuntarily dripped down Ningchen's back. Nothing will happen, right? You won't die. It's the lesser of two evils. Last time, you were only able to survive thanks to senior apprentice brother's help. Next time, you won't be so lucky, said Qingluo. Senior apprentice brother? Ning Chen's eyes narrowed. Emo Gate's first peak master Xiang Yuan? You still haven't seen senior apprentice brother. But you'll see him very soon. Qingluo was tidying up the drawers of precious medicinal herbs in front of her. Are all of my senior apprentice brothers and sisters still alive? Ning Chen's expression was grave. No. Qingluo stopped what she was doing and calmly said, Yuehua and Huayang are dead. Your third senior apprentice brother is also dead. As for Ling Luozhen, it's basically impossible for her to still be alive. Ning Chen sighed. As expected, he had been overthinking things. Fourth senior apprentice sister, you said senior apprentice brother helped us. What's that about? Ning Chen gathered his thoughts. It's a long story. During the devilish calamity on Galastar, that old monster didn't send out fifth junior apprentice brother and the others. Instead, he sent you, the disciple who had joined the sect for the shortest time, senior apprentice brother, and I felt that something was wrong. So senior apprentice brother went to Emo Mountain. I followed. When you were fighting with that old monster, senior apprentice brother also attacked to hold back his main body. Once his main body couldn't split apart, his body's transformation energy would quickly vanish, explained Qingluo. Senior apprentice brother will be fine, right? Ning Chen's eyes narrowed. He's fine. Senior apprentice brother's cultivation base is the highest among all of us. Even if he isn't that old monster's match, escaping shouldn't be a problem, said Qingluo. Just what secret does Master Emo have? Why did the true sun realm in my body give birth to another person's consciousness? Ning Chen didn't understand. We're not too sure about that either. However, before that old man became the master of Emo Gate had never had an immortal art in its countless years of inheritance. Whether it was the seven-colored immortal art or the yin-yang immortal art, they weren't martial arts of Emo Gate. However, the cultivation techniques in our bodies all came from those two immortal arts. The longer we cultivate, the stronger our consciousness will become until it devours our own bodies. So the root of everything should be those two immortal arts. What's his goal? Ning Chen didn't understand. I don't know. Qingluo shook her head. Only that old monster knows what happens to those whose consciousnesses are devoured. Senior apprentice brother is the only one who managed to sever his own consciousness. Zichuan and I were saved by him. Zichuan? The master of the seventh peak? Ning Chen frowned. Yes. Qingluo nodded. You've seen him before. He's the purple Marquis you speak of. Ning Chen narrowed his eyes. No wonder a corporeal realm expert called Purple Marquis had suddenly appeared in this world. So Purple Marquis was Zichuan from back then. Zichuan's talent is the best amongst us. His cultivation speed is second only to senior apprentice brother, who joined the sect the earliest. However, Zichuan's temperament is arrogant and impatient. He doesn't know how to be patient. Otherwise, his accomplishments might have already surpassed senior apprentice brother. Qingluo said regretfully. Right before senior apprentice sister disappeared, she left behind this box of rouge. The rouge contains her blood. Can we use this to find her whereabouts? As he spoke, Ning Chen took out the rouge box he had been hiding on his body and handed it over. Qingluo put down the medicinal herbs in her hand and took the rouge box. She frowned. Heart's blood essence. After thinking for a moment, Qingluo returned the rouge box. Put it away properly. The extreme yin and extreme yang martial arts complement each other. This drop of heart's blood essence might be of great use in the future. Ning Chen nodded and put away the rouge box. Here's your medicine. Not long after, Qingluo threw a bag of medicine to him. Using the 9 netherworld flower will be very painful. These medicines will help you alleviate the pain. However, unless you really can't bear it, use them sparingly. These medicines will more or less affect the 9 netherworld flower's medicinal effects. There's only one 9 netherworld flower, and once it's used up, there won't be any more. I understand. Many thanks, senior apprentice sister. Ning Chen received the medicine and solemnly thanked her. No need to be so polite. In this world, if we don't help each other, no one will be able to help us. That old fellow's strength is too terrifying. In the future, when we face him head-on, one more person is one more force, replied Qingluo. Ningchen nodded. After thinking for a moment, he looked at her and said, "There's one more thing I want to ask senior apprentice sister. I wonder if senior apprentice sister knows of any inheritances in this world, where every member is carrying a coffin, and their cultivation is above the immortal treading realm." Qingluo's eyes narrowed. "Why are you asking this? Have you already seen these people?" Chapter 658. In the Western Courtyard's pharmacy, the atmosphere was tense. Lulua's eyes were grave. "You've seen them?" "No, but they took away a friend of mine. I have to save her," said Ningchen. Lulua was silent for a moment. After a long time she sighed. "Give up. It's impossible for your friend to still be alive. Those people are from the Nether Hall. They originate from the spirit realm star system. In ancient times, they coexisted with the underworld and were extremely powerful. Those people who took away your friend are patrollers from the Nether Hall. They're in charge of finding all kinds of special constitutions to refine corpse gods. As long as she's taken away by them, she'll definitely die." Ningchen's body trembled and his fists cracked. His true essence surged and his killing intent was difficult to suppress. "Don't use your true qi. Your injuries haven't healed yet," Lulua warned him. Drops of blood dripped down. It was very dazzling. Ningchen wiped away the blood at the corner of his mouth and suppressed the true essence surging through his body. His expression calmed down once more, but the bone-chilling coldness in the depths of his eyes was difficult to conceal. "Right now, you should recover your body. Whether it's that old monster or the Nether Hall, neither of them are easy to deal with. Don't act impulsively before your injuries are healed," said Lulua. "I understand." Ningchen nodded and agreed softly. Boom! Just as the two of them were talking, a heaven-shaking collision rang out from a nearby courtyard. The shockwaves caused the entire pharmacy to shake. Lulua sensed it, and her expression sank. A red light flashed from the pharmacy and quickly rushed to the eastern courtyard. In the main courtyard, purple light and devil chi surged. The collision of sword light caused intense shockwaves to spread. The heaven-shaking power was shocking. Purple Marquis' immortal treading aura surged. His sword was covered in purple chi, each of his moves chasing after the soul. On the other hand, the devil cultivator's devil sword was similarly fierce and merciless. Each of his moves could split a mountain. After exchanging several blows, the sword light crisscrossed. The residence that had been abnormally calm was now showing signs of collapse. A moment later, Hongyi entered the battle. Qing Shuang and Bai Hong appeared at the same time. Their swords blocked each other's attacks. With a bang, the battle came to an end. In that shocking collision, blood spurted out. The three of them separated and were forced back several steps. Xia Zi and Purple Marquis' expressions. "Ninth brother, you," Purple Marquis said in a low voice. Xia Zi stepped forward and channeled his elemental energy into Hong Yi's body to suppress her injuries. "Do you want to die?" Xia Zi said coldly after a brief moment. Ningchen coughed out a mouthful of blood as exhaustion flashed in his eyes. "Seventh senior brother, Zi, we can't attack our own people." Ningchen had just stabilized himself when he coughed up another mouthful of blood and spoke weakly. In the room, Yin, who had been woken up by the commotion, saw him and her expression changed. She ran forward and asked with tears in her eyes, "Are you all right?" In the west, a green light flashed past and Lulu appeared. Her slender hand guided the threads, turning them into endless vitality that entered the former's body. As the vitality entered his body, Ningchen's injuries gradually stabilized, and his chaotic Zhen Yuan calmed down. "Zichuan." After stabilizing the former's injuries, Lulua looked at the nearby Purple Marquis with a cold expression. "How long are you going to be so impulsive? Have you forgotten who killed your second senior sister?" Hearing this, Purple Marquis trembled and his eyes dimmed. Seeing his expression, Lulua did not continue speaking. She looked at the others and said, "We can't stay here any longer. With such a big commotion, it will definitely attract the experts of the Jinsi dynasty. Now is not the time for us to expose ourselves. Pack up quickly and leave immediately. Speaking of this, Lulua looked at the little girl and said, Iner, you're responsible for taking care of your master. Wait here. Okay. Iner nodded vigorously. Zichuan, come with me to pack up the pharmacy, Lulua said with an unpleasant expression. Okay. Purple Marquis did not dare to refute and replied. Xiazi, you stay here and guard. If anyone comes, you're responsible for blocking them, Lulua continued. Okay. Xiazi replied calmly. After that, Lulua took Purple Marquis to the east courtyard and quickly prepared to leave. In the courtyard, Xiazi released his divine sense to guard against the experts of the Jinxi dynasty. Not far away, Ningchen closed his eyes and suppressed his injuries. His old injuries had not healed, and after the impact just now, they were showing signs of erupting again. Iner still had tears in the corner of her eyes. She stood beside him worriedly and looked at the black-robed demonic cultivator from time to time. Her small mouth was pouting, full of dissatisfaction. Xiazi acted as if he did not see it. His eyes were cold as he looked at the starry sky, guarding against the enemies who might come at any time. Suddenly, the sky changed and the wind and clouds became chaotic. A large hand fell from the sky and crashed down. The powerful power surpassed the boundary of the mortal world and reached the immortal realm. The guardian finally made his move. The destructive power crushed the surrounding houses. Under the large hand, the demonic cultivator's expression turned cold. He waved his hand, and a demonic weapon appeared. Pretending to be a ghost, the demonic sword shone brightly and rays of black light shot into the sky. The surging demonic power collided with the palm in the sky. With a loud explosion, more than half of the mansion collapsed. The shocking scene shocked everyone. In the aftermath, Ningchen stood up and protected Iner beside him. He looked at the wind and clouds in the sky with a heavy expression. You don't need to do anything. Leave this person to me, Xiazi said indifferently. He flipped his palm and gathered his demonic yuan. Within the surging black demonic waves, the demonic sword transformed, and a world-shaking power appeared. Reincarnation. The sword spun and thousands of swords appeared. An incomparably vigorous sword flow furiously charged into the wind and clouds. In the western courtyard's pharmacy, Purple Marquis' expression became serious. He flipped his palm and scattered the raging waves. It's the Northern King. Lulua also sensed the pressure from the sky and said in a serious voice. The 4 kings of the Golden Dawn Empire live up to their reputation. They'll be here soon, said Purple Marquis. Continue to guard this place. Xiazi should be able to handle the other side. Lulua instructed, and then quickly packed up the drawers of precious herbs. In the eastern courtyard, the battle between the demonic cultivators and kings was becoming more and more intense. The northern king of the Golden Dawn Empire, who had yet to appear, raised his hand and stirred up the wind and clouds. He wanted to suppress the demonic cultivators. Below, Ningchen protected Iner. Not far away, Xiazi released his body and used all his strength to deal with the enemy. The 6-foot-long Mad Doomsday was surrounded by demonic energy. When the battle started, it became white-hot. The terrifying aftermath destroyed the surrounding houses, and half the city shook. An extraordinary expert. Ningchen looked at the huge hand in the dark clouds in the sky, and said with a serious expression, "Trample the Celestial?" Iner asked worriedly. Yes, and it's very likely that he's at the peak of the virtual realm, or even the corporeal realm. Ningchen nodded. Before he finished speaking, there was a loud explosion in the sky. The demonic energy scattered, and the huge hand broke through the restraints and fell down. The ground collapsed. Ha! When the danger arrived, Ningchen waved his hand and summoned a white rainbow to help. However, there was a long shout. The black wings of sin spread out behind the demonic cultivator, and a violent demonic energy surged out. Buried the heavens. The sword's edge was immortal defying, and the demonic energy buried the heavens. The abnormally terrifying demonic energy turned into a cloud and crashed into the huge hand. In an instant, the violent collision resounded through the world, and the sky changed color. In the aftermath, a purple-white man appeared. He was tall and straight, and his long hair fluttered in the wind. He was arrogant and charming. He's finally here. Jinsi North King Hua Changfeng. In the west courtyard, Lulua looked at the figure in the sky and said solemnly. Purple Marquis waved his hand and held his sword, but he was stopped when he was about to attack. Don't attack first. If it's not necessary, we'd better not fight against the Jinsi dynasty. Xia Zi is a demon, so it's more suitable for him to attack, Lulua said calmly. Can he do it? Purple Marquis didn't trust her. His strength is much stronger than what you've seen, Lulua replied. Purple Marquis nodded and waved his hand to put away his sword. In the sky to the east of the west courtyard, Jinsi North King descended. The abnormally powerful pressure was like a mountain falling down, overturning the sky and splitting the sea. The earth was stirred up, and waves of dust rose into the sky. Ning Chen waved his hand to shake off the slate and protect Yin. In the battlefield, the demon stood in the sky. His white hair fluttered, and his black sinful wings released a boundless pressure that made people feel a bone-deep fear. Hua Changfeng looked at the sinful wings behind the demon in front of him, and a strange light flashed through his eyes. What a terrifying demon! Although his realm wasn't high, this kind of pure demonic qi was beyond his understanding of demons. Xiaofeng. With a soft cry, an azure spear appeared. In an instant, wild winds howled and the void cracked. The king weapon appeared, and the ink sword shook at the same time. The peerless divine weapons were tit for tat. Hua Changfeng held the spear and condensed the wind and clouds of the 8 wastelands, gathering the spiritual yuan in all directions. The demon focused and waved his sword to block the attack. The shockwaves from the collision were like the sun in the dark night, illuminating the world. Drip. Blood dripped from the corner of the demon's mouth. The injuries he had suffered in the battle with Emoju had shown that there were hidden dangers. You dare to block this king even though you're injured? I admire your courage. Hua Changfeng flipped his palm and slapped the spear. His true yuan shook and forced the demon in front of him back. True wind. The Xiaofeng spear spun, an azure light gathered. Heaven and earth changed and the wind howled. A huge whirlpool hundreds of meters long appeared and descended. The pressure was indescribable. In the western courtyard, Purple Marquis' eyes were gloomy. He said, Fourth senior sister, make your move. Wait a little longer. Lulua looked at the sky and narrowed her beautiful eyes. In the battle, a destructive gale descended, turning the sky and earth into nothingness. The terrifying danger was driving people crazy. Below, Ji Ming was heavily injured and couldn't dodge. Xia Zi's expression became serious, and he condensed all the demonic qi in his body. Blood flowed from his hands, dyeing the doomsday sword red. Forbidden technique, God's descent. The doomsday weapon trembled, and the black aura around the demon soared into the sky. A phantom that looked down on all living things slowly descended from the demonic qi and merged with the demon's body. The demon opened his eyes and unfolded his 12 wings of sin. In an instant, black feathers flew between heaven and earth. He took a step, and in an instant he died with the sword. The wind dissipated, and the Xiaofeng spear collapsed. The demon's throat was split open and blood gushed out. The demon's eyes were filled with disbelief. Even in death he couldn't understand. Below, Ning Chen looked at the familiar yet strange friend in the sky. He couldn't hide the shock in his heart. Chapter 659. Within the Jinsi Imperial Palace, Sovereign Jinsi's expression changed as he looked to the north in shock. The North King was dead? How was that possible? Immediately summoned by Qin to the palace, said Sovereign Jinsi. Yes, a black figure appeared and disappeared after receiving the order. In the north of the Jinsi dynasty, in the east of Yinji City, in a secluded mansion, after a great battle, the entire mansion was devastated, and its original appearance could no longer be seen. Ning Chen's group didn't stay for long. They quickly packed up the medicinal herbs in the western courtyard and left. Now that the North King had died, the other 3 kings had also received the order to come. Not long after they left, a beautiful figure appeared in the sky. The East King had appeared, and his eyes were shining as he looked at the aftermath of the battle. While traveling to the west, Ning Chen carried Xia Zi, who had fainted after using a forbidden technique, on his back. He didn't dare to slow down. He didn't trust anyone. Only in front of his best friend would he allow himself to let down his guard for a moment. Unbelievable. Behind the three of them, Lulua sighed. Demons were naturally suspicious. They were actually willing to pay such a huge price to protect others. At this moment, the clouds in the sky began to rumble. A powerful will was approaching. This is the East King. Lulua looked back at the churning clouds in the distance. I'll go stop her. Purple Marquis stopped and said, It's not time yet. Let's go. Lulua said in a low voice. Soon after, she increased her speed and rushed forward. Not long after, white lightning surged in the sky. A powerful pressure was no weaker than the North King's. By Qin! Ning Chen's expression sank. He immediately changed directions and headed northwest. Let's go to the far north. Lulua took a step forward, leading the way towards the extreme north. The three of them hadn't been traveling for long when another powerful aura appeared in the south. It was as hot as fire, as if it could burn the sky and boil the sea. The South King, said Purple Marquis. Before he even finished speaking, golden light spread over the western horizon. Even from far away, they could feel an unbearable pain from the sharp aura. The West King. The three kings arrived at the same time, followed by the divine generals. 4 powerful auras chased after them, determined to seek justice for Beifong's death. Ning Chen's group sped up as well, and they didn't stop for even a moment as they rushed towards the extreme north. The biting cold wind was unusually bone-piercing. The Jinshi dynasty was vast and prosperous. Perhaps only the snow-covered extreme north was the end of the dynasty. Senior sister, we can't escape. Attack. Purple Marquis said with a grave expression, as he looked at the pursuers coming from all directions. We can't. If we attack, Sovereign Jin, she will immediately recognize us. Once Sovereign Jin she attacks, we'll be in trouble, said Lulua. Ning Chen stopped. His eyes were silent. He handed Z to the former and said calmly, I'll do it. 4th senior sister and 7th senior brother, take Z and Yin and leave first. No, your injuries haven't healed yet. Staying behind by yourself is just suicide, said Lulua. That's the only way. We can't expose senior sister and senior brother's identities for now. Don't worry, I have Phoenix origin. If I can't block them, I'll immediately withdraw, said Ning Chen softly. Ning Chen, I want to go with you. Tears flashed in Yiner's eyes. She pulled on Ning Chen's clothes, unwilling to let go. Listen to me, Yiner. You go with 4th senior sister first. If you stay, I won't be able to focus on the enemy, said Ning Chen gently. Come back alive. This true Yuan can help you find us. The situation was critical, and they couldn't delay. Lulua didn't hesitate any longer. She waved her hand, and threads of green light entered Ning Chen's body. She didn't hesitate any longer, and pulled the little girl deeper into the extreme north. 4th senior sister. Purple Marquis glanced at his junior brother behind him, unable to conceal his worry. Let's go, shouted Lulua coldly. Purple Marquis sighed and didn't dare stay any longer. Carrying Xia Zi, he quickly followed. Seeing the 4 of them leave, Ning Chen's expression calmed down. Looking at the 4 figures rushing over, his phoenix origin began to revolve. Red light flickered around him, making him seem like a divine sun in the dark night, illuminating the world as if it were daytime. Wind and clouds churned and a blue-robed woman walked out. Her terrifying pressure surpassed the northern kings and reached the corporeal realm. The eastern king appeared. She was a peerless beauty, but her strength was ranked at the head of the 4 kings. Seeing the red-robed youth blocking her way, the eastern king didn't show much anger. Her eyes were calm. Come back with me. Impossible. Ning Chen waved his hand, and a white light appeared. Then I'll have to offend you. The eastern king began to move. Her hands began to cleanse the clouds, and an incomparably vast aura swept out. The head of the 4 kings had the ability to reach the peak. When she attacked, she was like a goddess of war descending to the mortal world. Wind and clouds churned, and a huge whirlpool appeared. Her power shook everyone's hearts. The ground began to tremble, and the ground within 1,000 miles began to surge. Wherever the clouds passed, everything was destroyed. The red-robed youth stepped out of the dust, avoiding most of the power. However, he was still injured by the shockwaves. Drops of blood dripped from the corner of his mouth, dyeing the ground red. With such heavy injuries, there's no way you can escape. Come back with me, said the Eastern King calmly. She was in a hurry to attack again. Sorry, I can't. Ningchen stopped and his phoenix origin began to revolve, suppressing his injuries. Stubbornly persisting in going about things the wrong way will only harm yourself. The Eastern King glanced at the 3 surging auras behind her and sighed. She didn't delay any longer, and used 1,000 clouds burying the heavens. In an instant, wind and clouds began to surge. Within the clouds, the immortals' robes fluttered, and an incomparably vigorous energy pressed down. The pressure was as heavy as a mountain, capable of splitting the heavens and splitting the seas. Before the attack arrived, Ningchen already felt the weight of the 1,000 mountains on his body. Although they were both kings, their cultivation had far surpassed the other 3 kings. They were close to Empress Jinxi's level. The clouds stagnated in the void, making it difficult to move. Ningchen swung his sword and stepped out, dodging the palm energy. The ground shook violently, and 1,000 miles sank. Blood stained the dust. Clang! The 2 swords clashed, and the sword light spread. White lightning surged in the dust. Divine General Bai Qin appeared and attacked. The lightning was extremely fast, and the phoenix was unparalleled. The killing move of the instant death raised a huge sand wave. After the Eastern King, the Divine General descended to the mortal world to kill knowing destiny. The Eastern King stood in the void, watching the rapidly changing battle. He didn't attack again. Where's the demon? The 2 swords clashed. Bai Qin looked at the person in front of her and asked. I don't know. Ningchen replied calmly. He clenched his left hand, and the blue frost sword appeared. He escaped. Then you'll pay with your life. Bai Qin's face darkened. She dodged the blue frost sword, turned her palm, and attacked Ningchen. The 2 swords clashed again. Light overflowed, and the paths of life and death were separated. The swords were chaotic, and the sound of the sword was like thunder and the cry of the phoenix. The Eastern King looked at the red-clothed young man in the battle. It was a pity that he had such amazing strength at such a young age. At this moment, the wind blew behind the battle. 2 figures appeared. They looked at the battle, and then at the Eastern King. They frowned and asked, Eastern King, where are the others? They escaped, the Eastern King said calmly. Why didn't you chase them? The Western King asked. Someone stopped me, the Eastern King said calmly. The Southern King looked at the battle and said, Western King, continue chasing them. I'll help Bai Qin kill this person, and I'll catch up immediately. Okay. The Western King nodded and chased forward. Seeing that someone was about to pass through, Ningchen swung his sword and blocked the battle. His figure flashed and blocked the front. His sword soared into the sky and blocked the king. With a loud explosion, the sky sank and the earth fell. The Western King's footsteps paused as he was stopped. You're courting death. The Western King's face was filled with killing intent. He rushed forward, and a halberd appeared in his hand. The halberd's tip shone with a dazzling golden light and a sharp golden aura. With a clang, the sword and halberd clashed for the first time. The mournful white rainbow trembled, and the incomparably sharp Jinxi suppressed the white rainbow. Ningchen's blood spilled from his hand, dyeing the 2 weapons red. He swung his left hand with azure frost, exchanging injury for injury. The only sword at the pinnacle was something that even a king could not ignore. He swung his halberd and blocked the sword. Outside the battle, the Southern King saw that the battle was more difficult than he had expected. He condensed his fire yuan energy and jumped into the battle. The 2 kings joined forces, the divine generals attacked, and the 3 king realm experts hunted down the phoenix together. Sword form, sky-splitting 9 suns. In the battle, Ningchen used the azure frost sword form with his left hand, and the white rainbow soared into the 9 suns with his right hand. His sword aura was infused with the heavenly book martial arts. The pinnacle of the sword was shining brightly. 9 divine suns circled around. The 9 suns sank, and heaven and earth collapsed quickly. The 2 kings received the attack with the help of the divine generals. The rumbling sound reverberated throughout the world. The sword suns shattered, and the sword radiance rushed in all directions. The Eastern King waved his hand to disperse the sword aura in front of him. Looking at the brave warrior in the battle, his eyes flashed again. What a pity! Whoosh! Blood dyed the sky. The unyielding warrior did not back down. In order to save his friend and protect his disciple, he stood alone and blocked the three kings and the divine generals of Jinsi. The two swords clashed again with a loud clang. The two swords glowed brilliantly. White lightning and green frost collided. The rainbow flashed across the sky. The long halberd waved. The white rainbow shook the blue dome of heaven. The valiant sword, the valiant shadow. He was like a war god. The knowing destiny state fully unleashed, and the mastery on the sword broke through the dark clouds. Heaven and earth sensed it, and endless chains swayed, responding to the swordsman. The two kings looked cold, and the power of the treading celestials condensed. Their palms and halberds moved side by side, and the flames howled, and the sharp metal broke through the nine heavens. The white zither followed with her sword, and the sword was like a thunderstorm that broke the sky, leaving no room for maneuver. There was an earth-shattering collision and dust filled the sky. In the rumbling, the red shirt retreated more than 10 steps, and the two swords touched the ground. Blood stained the sand. With the heavy injury, the phoenix could not spread its wings. Blood dripped down and stained the red shirt again and again. The Eastern King's figure flashed and blocked the three of them. He said calmly, "A brave swordsman should be respected. Send him on his way." The white zither divine general nodded and stepped forward. The white lightning attracted the thunder, and the sky lost its color. "Is there enough time?" On the ground, Ningchen looked back and saw that the leaving sword was no longer there. A touch of relief flashed across his tired face. He got up, held his sword, and his blood vitality dispersed, and rushed to the nine heavens. Chapter 660. In front of the boundary marker in the extreme north, snow fell from the sky. White lightning fell from the sky. The merciless sword ended the life of the phoenix. Ha! At this moment, Ji Ming felt that his friends were far away. He slowly got up. Blood flowed from his arms, and his swords left the ground. In an instant, blood chi surged and a strong force of the beginning of the world exploded. The phoenix spirit rushed to the nine heavens, and the heavenly fire shook the sky. The four symbols appeared. The green dragon, the vermilion bird, and the black tortoise descended from the sky. The white tiger of the west and the phoenix took their places. The four ancient gods shone between heaven and earth. The moment the four symbols appeared, the white lightning sword dimmed. Under the impact of the gods' arrival, the lightning dissipated. Seeing this, the two kings' faces darkened. They stepped forward and gathered Hao Yuan to enter the battle again. Sword of the four symbols. Divine transformation. With a painful shout, the blood chi around Ji Ming rolled rapidly. In the sky, the four symbols gathered into one. The blood-red phoenix descended from the sky and slowly entered his body. Ning Chen's body was covered in blood mist. His black hair turned red instantly. The blood was dazzling and fluttering in the wind. The four symbols' divine transformation. The blood gathered in the body of Ji Ming. The power of the human world exploded. In the rolling blood chi, the two swords converged. The phoenix fire rose to the extreme. The astral soul that had been cultivated for countless days was finally formed. The blood-red sword shone in the human world. Ningchen held the sword. His blood-red hair flowed backward. The god in the fire had descended to the human world. The blood-red astral soul opened the way. The battle started again. The heaven and earth trembled. Ji Ming forced himself to become a divine transformation. His blood chi burned. His sword changed the weather, and 1,000 miles turned into a sword domain. The swords clashed. The two different powers. The divine general Bai Qin retreated. The sword's power backfired. The corner of her mouth was red. Blood dripped down, blooming on the ground. The invincible divine general's sword was stained with blood. The two kings were shocked. The western king waved his halberd. Golden light rose and streaked across the night sky. The southern king also gathered the source of the fire. The power of burning the sky and boiling the sea approached Ji Ming. The battle between the two kings started again. The boundless Hao Yuan shook the heaven and earth. The sound of clashing rang in his ears and in his heart. Knowing destiny leaned forward and attacked. The primordial blood on his sword overflowed, frightening gods and ghosts. Divine General Baiqin stepped forward, and white lightning surged on her sword. The lightning that spanned tens of thousands of feet tore through the void. The two swords clashed again. The light of a cultivator's life bloomed beautifully in the moment of battle. The world-shocking killing trap was flawless and flawless. There was no way to escape. In the battle, knowing destiny leaped out with his sword. In a flash, his sword drew many graceful strokes. The four symbols returned to his body, and he turned into a deity. His combat power was so terrifying that it shocked the three people once again. Outside the battle, Dong Wang's raised hand hesitated as he saw He Yong's unparalleled figure in the battle. Condensing blood origin, Phoenix ancestral awakening, the ninth son of Mo Gate, a peerless genius. However, the hero was short of breath. Heavenly dragon shock. His astral soul slashed out as the azure dragon roared. A gigantic dragon god manifested in the night sky, soaring out of the sea as it rushed towards the two kings. Seeing this, West King stood up and blocked the attack. With a flip of his palm, rays of golden light gathered and boundless sharp metal chi swirled. His halberd broke through the waves and slashed towards the azure dragon. Amidst the shocking explosion, South King passed by with fire true flame surging on his palm. On the other side, Baiqin stepped forward. Her sword shook the clouds and lightning bolts boosted the flames. Heavenly Dragon Phoenix Burial. Two strong cultivators arrived. Red robes flashed as the primordial chi on the sword surged. A dragon and a phoenix appeared and met the attack head-on. Rumbling sounds could be heard from the collision. Before he could catch his breath, West King arrived once again. His halberd danced, dazzling golden light shone. Ugh! With a groan, knowing destiny's mouth turned red. Blood continued to flow out of his mouth. He moved his astral soul and counterattacked. Space break. A sword broke through the air. The sword was so close that it was too late to dodge. West King took the sword head-on. He groaned and retreated a few steps. As the Western King retreated, Divine General Baiqin immediately rushed forward. Lightning flashed, and arrived in the blink of an eye. Her sword was like a bolt of lightning rushing out of the sea. Her astral soul met the attack with the same speed. She didn't use her sword intent. The only sword at the peak suppressed the white lightning. Under the night sky, the blood-haired figure was extraordinary. He was a martial artist, a swordsman, and a knowing destiny. He had learned the sword for 30 years. His talent was ordinary, but he had surpassed all the geniuses of his generation. The path of the sword required talent, perseverance, and tempering. Knowing destiny wasn't favored by the heavens. His talent was ordinary. However, his hard work changed his choice of the sword. 30 years. From the beginning until today, knowing destiny couldn't lose. He didn't dare to lose. He couldn't die. He forced himself to walk down this path again and again. He didn't expect that this path would last for 30 years. Snowflakes fell. In the extremely cold weather, the phoenix fire weakened a little. However, the swordsman's battle intent didn't weaken at all. His sword reflected under the moonlight. Enough. You've done well. Really well. Outside the battle, East King sighed. He had to take action in the end because of the imperial order. East King moved. In an instant, the wind and clouds surged and thunder rumbled. The leader of the four kings once again displayed his peerless power. His slender hand slapped and the sky fell. The power of destruction descended. In the battle, knowing destiny waved his sword and shook off the two kings. Looking at the clouds pressing down from the sky, he took a step and soared. The phoenix spread its wings and lifted the 9 heavens. The clouds suppressed the gods. East King walked gracefully. Clouds surrounded his body. He was like an immortal in the mortal world. The heavenly power shook the universe. Ha! Below the clouds, knowing destiny shouted. His blood-red hair danced wildly. The divine weapon made of astral soul iron essence broke through the shackles. The starlight in the 9 heavens sensed it and gathered. The dazzling sword light could kill an immortal. No one can take my life, not even the heavens. His body was bathed in blood. Knowing destiny refused to accept the heavens. His body burned like a divine furnace. The blood-red phoenix fire reflected the 9 heavens. He was unyielding. He had a strong will to live. He reversed life and death, and refused to enter the underworld. In this life, she hadn't woken up yet. How could he die? Rumbling sounds of thunder rang out as millions of lightning bolts descended upon the world. The phoenix defied the heavens and angered Xian. Heavenly punishment descended and death reappeared. As the azure frost sword appeared, the wind and snow became chaotic. As ice and fire intersected, the yin-yang taiji diagram spiraled into the air and blocked the heavenly punishment. When the yin and yang formation appeared, the 3 of them felt their bodies sink. Amidst the convergence of yin and yang, 10,000 spells trembled in sorrow. Dong Wang sighed in his heart as he looked at the man who was bleeding profusely. However, he did not show any mercy in his moves. He broke through the yin-yang aura and arrived before the man in an instant. The vast and mighty cloud energy crushed the void as it slammed its palm toward the former. It was emotionless and merciless, taking everything in one strike. The tip of the sword blocked the clouds, and with the help of yin and yang, it exploded with a loud bang. The yin-yang great formation shook violently, unable to withstand the aftershocks, showing signs of collapse. Descent of the 6 Tao, myriad demonic tribulations, supreme forbidden sword. In the collapsing yin and yang formation, knowing destiny held his sword horizontally. Blood flowed out of his left hand like a tidal wave. In an instant, the remaining power of the entire formation rolled wildly and poured into the sword. The forbidden sword appeared. Hong Yi took a step forward and leapt into the 9 heavens. The extreme might of the sword spread out. 10,000 swords appeared in the world and floated in the horizon. Doomsday catastrophe. As soon as the words fell, 10,000 swords fell, annihilating everything below. The destructive might and the doomsday scene made people feel fear from the depths of their hearts. When the 3 kings saw this, their expressions turned serious. They released their aura. Clouds rose, flames surged, and golden light shone brightly. Divine General Baiqin also absorbed the thunder from the 9 heavens into her sword to help the 3 kings. Together, they resisted the doomsday move. Supreme Forbidden Sword, silence of the mortal world. The unparalleled ultimate move of the sword descended with destruction. It entered everyone's eyes and slowly entered their hearts. When the aftershocks dissipated, the 2 kings were dyed red. The divine general flew out. The might of the sword shook the heavens and the earth. Dong Wang waved his hand. The clouds surged and scattered the waves of dust. He looked at the phoenix, whose vital essence was almost exhausted. He raised his hand, and the clouds turned into torrents. Wave after wave of huge waves split the sky and swept across the world. In the huge waves, knowing destiny used what little vital essence he had left. It was heavy, slow, and condensed. Rays of sword light coiled up and became more and more intense. Like a storm, it rose rapidly into the sky. The pinnacle of the sword, the only one at the peak, the dazzling sword will rumbled. Combined with the swordsman's unyielding will, it blocked the shocking torrents. Enough! Dong Wang turned his palm. With a boom, the torrents scattered the sword light. The scattered blood splashed into the waves and dyed the clouds red. At the end of the battle, knowing destiny, who was under the bloody hair, kept bleeding from the corners of his mouth. His blood, chi, and genuine essence were exhausted. Only his unyielding will spread between heaven and earth. His sword will appeared and disappeared without a beginning or an end. In this grand battle, the 2 kings were injured, and the divine general was dyed red. Even though they were opponents, the 4 could not hide their respect for him. He had not reached the treading celestial realm, and was seriously injured, but he still managed to delay them until now. There was no other person in the world who could do this. The sword will in the void was still sharp. However, the 3 kings knew that this battle was over. Although the phoenix was strong, it could not spread its wings again. Dong Wang walked forward step by step. The clouds around him dispersed the sword will in the void. His beautiful face was solemn and calm. Warriors had their dignity. Such a brave warrior deserved their respect. Have a safe journey back to the netherworld. As soon as he finished speaking, the clouds rose and the clouds changed. A raging sea appeared in the world. The last move was extremely powerful. It was the last respect a king had for a swordsman. The Hall of the Dead wants the body of the phoenix. At this moment a change occurred. The void rolled, and a huge vortex appeared. 13 figures walked out with coffins on their backs. All of them were above the treading celestial realm. Their powerful auras covered the cold moon and the 9 heavens. It was shocking. The East King frowned when she saw who it was. She flipped her palm and was about to attack when she heard an authoritative voice in her ear. "Don't attack. Retreat." Sovereign Jin Shi's voice was heard by the 3 kings and Divine General Baiqin at the same time. It was cold and unquestionable. Dong Wang's eyes flashed. He glanced at the people of the Hall of the Dead, snorted and turned to leave. "Phoenix, since you can stop me, don't die in the hands of these people." The last words disappeared with the light blue battle suit. Dong Wang left and disappeared into the night sky. Western King and Southern King looked at each other and left as well. Their figures merged into the void and disappeared silently. Divine General Baiqin sighed. He looked at the 9th son of the Mahis clan in front of him with a complicated expression. He also left the battle without saying a word. Drip drip. Amidst the thunder, the sound of blood dripping was so soft that it was almost undetectable. The knowing destiny who was in charge of bringing up the rear had forcefully reverted to his ancestral form and turned into a deity. His chi and blood were almost exhausted. Gray fog spread around the 13 netherworld envoys. Iron chains shot out and locked the phoenix in the void. Chapter 661. In the extreme north, the Hall of the Dead's patrollers appeared, and the 3 kings left. The battle became even more dangerous. The 13 netherworld envoys carried black coffins on their backs, and a gray aura surrounded them. The strong and strange aura made it seem like the death god had descended. The chains swayed, and streaks of black light shot out from the hands of the 13 netherworld envoys, locking onto the phoenix in the void. The earth shook, and the aftermath of the battle did not stop. Fresh blood turned into a bloody mist, and sword and tent rumbled, filling the void and creating deep rifts in the void. As the chains attacked, the red-robed man supported his injured body and stood up again. His tired eyes looked at the crisscrossing chains around him, and he used the last of his true essence. Suddenly the image of a phoenix appeared. As the chains rumbled, a huge chariot appeared. The chariot's body was bronze, and it shone with a cold light. "Finally, all of you are here." On the chariot, knowing Destiny's figure staggered and vomited a mouthful of blood. He forcefully supported his injured body and said tiredly, "God-slaying chariot." Seeing the huge chariot appear in the sky, the 13 netherworld envoys' expressions darkened. This person actually had a war machine from the ancient Western celestial world. The god-slaying chariot appeared, and its mountain-like body appeared in the sky, giving off an indescribable pressure. The war machine that shocked the 4 celestial worlds had appeared again after hundreds of thousands of years. The phoenix blood entered the chariot, and the sky was filled with blood. Amidst the dazzling red light, the god-slaying chariot changed. The chariot's artifact spirit swallowed the phoenix blood and slowly recovered. The chariot shook, and the chariot turned into a ghost phoenix. The huge chariot exploded with a strong murderous aura, and streaks of black light shot out, instantly dispersing the crisscrossing chains. The night wind rustled, and it sounded like thousands of Buddhas were chanting. The battle that had lasted for a long time changed again. The black ghost phoenix appeared, and its murderous aura spread. Pointless struggle. The 13 netherworld envoys snorted and stepped forward. The chains extended out like the hands of the death god. In front of the chains, a gray aura of death circled and turned into 13 ferocious beasts. The beasts opened their huge mouths and tried to swallow the ghost phoenix. The ghost phoenix and the ferocious beasts clashed, and their murderous auras collided. The night wind and clouds surged, and the sky and earth collapsed. Everything in front of them was covered in snow, and everything in front of them. On the chariot, the exhaustion in knowing Destiny's eyes became more and more obvious. He turned his sword, and the aura of the heavenly book was fully released. Suddenly, the 9 suns rose into the sky, shining their dazzling brilliance on the ground. The Book of Sun appeared, and the heavenly book summoned. Among the 13 netherworld envoys, moonlight rose from the coffin behind one of them. The Book of Moon responded, and a strange phenomenon appeared. Found it. Ning Chun looked at the netherworld envoy in front of him. His silhouette flashed, and he appeared behind the netherworld envoy in an instant. He waved his sword, threatening to kill the netherworld envoy. The 7th netherworld envoy snorted coldly. He flipped his palm to receive the energy, and forcefully blocked the sword. The Star Soul sword was restrained, unable to advance even an inch. Powerless Phoenix, what else can you do? Within the gray fog, the 7th netherworld emissary spoke softly. Iron chains extended from his body, and locked onto the person in front of him. With the iron chain on his body, knowing destiny advanced instead of retreating, he grabbed the iron chain, and fell from the sky like a meteor. 4 symbols Divine Seal, Azure Dragon Descent. The 4 symbols Divine Seal appeared again. The Azure Dragon coiled around the 2 and fell from the sky. In the next moment, an earth-shattering collision sounded from the ground. The ground cracked open, and dust rose into the air. The terrifying scene caused the expressions of the other 12 netherworld envoys to sink. After a while the dust settled, blood spread across the cracked ground, and the iron chains broke apart, scattering everywhere. The black coffin opened, and Ning Chun pulled Luofei out. With a wave of his hand, a palm-sized azure boat appeared. It instantly turned into a normal-sized azure boat. It carried Luofei and the ghostly girl in the ice coffin, and turned into a beam of light. The expressions of the 12 netherworld envoys changed. 6 of them quickly chased after the azure boat. None of you can pass, Ning Chun said tiredly. The Star Soul in his hand shone brightly, and a brilliant blood-red light cut through the void, separating life and death. The 6 netherworld envoys blocked the sword light. When they focused again, the azure boat had already disappeared. The final mission was completed. Ning Chun, who was already at the end of his rope, no longer had any worries. He stepped forward and stood on the ghost phoenix. Immediately, he turned into a black beam of light, and charged towards the netherworld hall's envoys. Seeing that Ning Chun was going all out, the 12 netherworld envoys extended their chains once again. They intertwined into an inescapable net that enveloped the ghost phoenix. With a loud boom, the iron chains were sent flying. The 12 netherworld envoys retreated a few steps from the terrifying shockwaves. The chains in their hands were all broken. On the other side, the ghost phoenix was heavily injured. The war chariot's artifact spirit had exhausted its energy, and was once again in a deep sleep. The bronze war chariot, which had regained its original appearance, became abnormally dim. The array patterns on the chariot retracted, and there was no longer any trace of aura. At the Sword Edge encampment, fresh blood flowed. Ning Chun stabilized himself, and looked at the 12 netherworld hall's envoys in front of him. His tired eyes flashed with regret. It was a pity that he couldn't bring them down with him. Eternal banishment. He left the last move for himself. Ning Chun waved his sword and opened up the void. The endless void continued to extend and swallow his body. He couldn't die yet. Then he would fall into the void forever. He would leave the rest to them. You can't leave. At this moment, the 7th netherworld envoy, who had been severely injured earlier, rushed forward. The gray fog around him spread, and turned into chains once again, locking onto the red-robed man in the void. Ning Chun. At this moment, a petite figure rushed over from afar. Her beautiful eyes were filled with tears. Without hesitation, she rushed into the void. Is another one here to die? The 7th netherworld envoy snorted. Another chain extended from his hand, and locked onto the little girl in the void. When Ning Chun saw this, his eyes shrank. He took a step forward and blocked the attack. With a groan, the iron chain pierced through his body. Ning Chun turned around, and grabbed the iron chain that had pierced through his body. His expression was unprecedentedly stern. He shouted angrily, "Who allowed you to come back? If you don't leave, I won't leave either." Einer grabbed onto Ning Chun tightly. Her eyes were filled with tears. In the void, the iron chain retracted. Blood splattered everywhere. The two of them were forcefully pulled out from the shattered void. Ningchen waved his sword and broke the iron chain. Blood dripped from his mouth, dyeing his clothes red again and again. You shouldn't have come back. Ningchen could not bear to reprimand her. He looked at the little girl behind him and sighed. He was even more worried. Heavens, for the past 30 years, you have never protected knowing destiny. Knowing destiny's sinful body, I am willing to fall into the abyss. However, I am innocent. Ningchen could no longer retreat. Blood flowed from his eyes. He looked up at the heavens and prayed. His phoenix blood flowed in reverse, and his blood essence soared into the sky. The 9 heavens sensed it, and lightning struck. Bolts of lightning pierced into Ningchen's body. At that moment, an unprecedentedly violent aura spread. The forbidden domain borrowed life from the heavens. The moment the lightning pierced his body, Ningchen's blood mist surged. His strength exceeded his limits, and his foundation was destroyed. Iner, follow me. I will bring you out of this. Blood dripped down, and a beautiful scene bloomed. Ningchen pulled the little girl and rushed forward. In front of them, 13 netherworld envoys were blocking their way. Between life and death, they did not allow anyone to escape. Iron chains crisscrossed and gray mist curled around them. Ningchen waved his sword and broke the chains. Lightning surged around his body, and every moment blood spurted out. In the final confrontation, weapons clashed. Flames soared into the sky, and the ground sank down hundreds of feet. The white snowy ground was dyed red by blood. The brilliance on the sword, thunder roared, powerful to the extreme, hacking apart chain after chain. Don't let him escape. He won't last long. The 7th netherworld envoy shouted coldly. Gray aura surged around him, and chains rushed out. They were like an inescapable net that blocked the path ahead. The sword light broke through the net. Blood flowed from Ningchen's eyes, and the bloody light from the astral soul in his hand became brighter and brighter. With a slash of his sword, the chains broke and scattered into the sky. The promise of the past was still fresh in his mind, and he could not forget it. Ningchen leaned to the side and avoided one of the chains. He immediately cut it with his sword and took a few steps forward. In the sky, countless bolts of lightning struck. Under the night sky, the blood-red unyielding spirit continued to advance. It borrowed life from the heavens to protect the little girl behind it. The sword light broke through the night sky, and the few of them survived. In the north, the girl in green hurriedly rushed towards the battlefield. They were hundreds of miles away, but now it seemed like they were at the end of the world. They did not expect that Iner would disappear while they were treating Xia Ziyi's injuries. They also did not expect that the aura of the Hall of the Dead would appear in the distant battlefield. In front of the boundary stone in the far north, the red-robed knowing destiny used the last bit of strength he borrowed from the heavens to advance. Under the sword light, several netherworld envoys were dyed red. Their perfect teamwork finally showed a flaw. Nirvana. With the last bit of strength and the help of lightning, hundreds, thousands and tens of thousands of blood-red sword lights gathered. They crisscrossed and were magnificent. The only sword at the peak carried the last bit of strength and broke through the night sky, rushing forward. In the intense collision, groans sounded. The 4 netherworld envoys retreated at the same time, their mouths red. Let's go. Ningchen pulled and rushed out of the encirclement. Chase! The 9 netherworld envoys reacted, and immediately chased after them. The other 4 netherworld envoys also suppressed their injuries and followed. Under the night sky, the blood-red figures were extremely fast. The big hand that was holding Iner's hand no longer had any blood. The phoenix blood had dried up in the cold wind, and it was so cold. Iner, remember to find Xia Zi after you escape. He will protect you. Remember, in this world apart from him, don't trust anyone else easily. Ningchen could feel the life in his body fading. He continued to move forward as he tiredly reminded Iner, I want to follow you. If we die together. Iner's eyes were filled with tears. She hugged Ningchen's hand and refused to let go. Listen to me. I can't hold on any longer. Don't come back. Otherwise, I won't recognize you anymore. As he spoke, Ningchen flipped his palm and sending her out. He stopped his body, which could no longer move. Looking at the 13 figures rushing towards him, a look of regret flashed past his eyes. In the next moment, streaks of lightning exploded from his body. The phoenix's body dissipated, and the ownerless phoenix origin carried the last of knowing destiny's life. It turned into a huge phoenix illusion and rushed into the 9 heavens. Lock it down. Seeing this, the 13 netherworld envoys' expressions darkened. They worked together to release the chains, which swept towards the phoenix illusion in the sky. Boom! At this moment above the 9 heavens, a huge demonic figure appeared. It was more than 1,000 feet tall. It stepped on the lightning and descended to the mortal realm. Chapter 662. In the extreme north, the phoenix's body dissipated, and the phoenix origin turned into a phoenix shadow that rushed into the 9 heavens, taking away everything that belonged to the knowing destiny state. In the void, the chains around the 13 netherworld envoys extended as they rushed towards the phoenix origin. Suddenly, in the 9 heavens, thunder rumbled, and a huge demonic figure descended from the sky. The demonic figure stood tall, and with 1 foot, it crushed thousands of lightning bolts as it descended. In an instant, dozens of chains broke and scattered in the sky, falling like rain. The demonic body descended and looked at the phoenix origin sealed in the phoenix body. An indescribable light flashed in its eyes. The knowing destiny state could not die. Even if it had to suffer the pain of being sealed, it could not die. The phoenix body's final actions had given it a chance to live. You have done well. Leave the rest to me. The demonic body raised its hand, and demonic aura surged, slowly devouring the phoenix origin and the sealed heavenly soul. Otherworldly demon. The 13 netherworld envoys looked at the huge demonic body descending from the sky, and their expressions froze. Weren't the otherworldly demons all buried by the Queen Mother of the West in ancient times? All of you, go to hell together. With that, the demonic body moved and punched out. Rumbling sounds could be heard, and the void around them collapsed. The demonic body's aura was frightening and shocking. The 13 netherworld envoys' expressions changed slightly, and the chains intertwined as they worked together to block the demonic aura. The huge fist landed, and with a loud bang, the 13 netherworld envoys all took a step back. The intertwining chains broke continuously, unable to withstand the demonic aura. Open the coffins. Seeing this, the first netherworld envoy's eyes darkened as he shouted, "Open the coffins!" The 9 netherworld envoys shouted at the same time, and the coffins opened one by one. Suddenly Coldine aura surrounded them. In the next moment, terrifying auras were awakened, as if evil spirits from hell had come to the world, causing everyone to tremble uncontrollably. The coffins opened, and 9 corpse gods that were shining with green light appeared. Their figures flashed, and in an instant, they were in front of the demonic body. Their fists were filled with boundless death aura. When they were alive, they were brave and good at fighting. After they died, they were refined into corpse gods. Their lifeless faces were emotionless, and they had no consciousness. Only the death aura around them. It was so powerful that it made one's heart palpitate. Pathetic. The demonic body snorted coldly as it shook its arms, shattering the chains binding it. Then it threw a punch straight at the corpse god. The sky shook violently, and the demonic energy and death energy surged. Boundless residual energy roared and surged, and the surrounding void collapsed. In this world-shaking battle, Feng Qi filled the sky with flames of war. 6 ultimates of the sky demon, 1,000 gods burial. With a deep roar, demonic energy overflowed into the heavens. The giant fist punched out, and the world within 100 miles collapsed, swallowing everything in its path. The phoenix body scattered. The enraged demon cultivator unleashed the heavenly demon secret technique, a demon race divine ability from Xian Luo's memories. It carried the demon cultivator's innate talent to the greatest extent, burying gods with one punch and wailing the 9 heavens. The heavenly devil devoured the gods. The 9 corpse gods bore the brunt of the attack, and 4 of them collapsed on the spot. Blood and bones scattered down like rain. The 13 Netherworld envoys joined forces to block the attack, but it was still difficult for them to fend off the destructive demonic aura. They retreated several steps, and the corners of their mouths were dyed red. In the aftermath, specks of starlight flickered, and the remnant souls that were bound within the corpse god were freed. For men and women with ancient auras walked out and respectfully bowed to the demon in front of them. Then, they gradually dissipated between heaven and earth. Many thanks. The last voice was one that didn't want to be enslaved. The souls of the dead scattered and returned to the cycle of reincarnation. Be careful, it's a royal demon. After the aftermath dissipated, the leader of the 13 Netherworld envoys reminded them, with an extremely serious expression. The 6 ultimate techniques of the heavenly demon were a divine ability that only heavenly demons of the royal demon race and above could cultivate. Ordinary demons didn't have this ability at all. The 12 Netherworld envoys nodded, and their expressions turned serious. They half knelt down, and grayish-black fog surrounded their bodies. The Hall of the Dead's forbidden technique appeared in the mortal world for the first time. God of the Dead. Using blood as a sacrifice to summon the gods, the blood around the 13 Netherworld envoys started to gather towards the sky. In the next moment, dark clouds started to gather in the sky above the 9 heavens. A figure that was also 1,000 feet tall appeared. The Netherworld aura around it started to spread rapidly. The Yama King of the Underworld, the god of the Hall of the Dead. He was an existence that was on par with the primordial age. Now, he appeared in the mortal world, and his violent murderous intent shook the 9 heavens and 10 earths. God! Seeing the former's huge body, a mocking look flashed across the demon cultivator's eyes. He said, "A mere alien dares to call himself a god? Who gave you the guts?" 6 ultimates of the sky demon. 10,000 demons howled to the heavens. The 2 fists collided. Demonic waves rushed into the sky. Demonic figures appeared one after another, numbering in the tens of thousands. They floated up and down in the horizon. This world-shocking move made the 9 heavens tremble. Otherworldly demon, you don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. The god of the underworld spoke. His chi surged and condensed into a 100-meter-long scythe. The Grim Reaper scythe slashed out, and demonic shadows scattered. The aura of death was constantly devouring mana. Myriad demons devour the heavens. The demonic cultivator's expression turned cold. He shouted, and the power of 10,000 demons gathered. The demonic clouds rolled, and a huge hole appeared, swallowing the god of the underworld below. Why do demons devour the heavens? The god of the underworld snorted and waved his black sickle. The demonic clouds within 1,000 miles shook violently and showed signs of dissipating. Boom! The moment the god of the underworld blocked the attack, the demon cultivator moved and punched out. The battle between the gods and demons shook the heavens and the earth. Tyrannical power spread out for hundreds of li. In the world of ice and snow, glaciers exploded one after another, unable to withstand the terrifying shockwaves. This is Ninth Junior Brother. 100 miles away, Lulua stopped and looked at the familiar face in the air with shock. Something's wrong. Lulua scanned with her divine sense and didn't see Ener. Her expression sank and she shouted, "Ninth Junior Brother, where is Een? Didn't she come back to find you?" In the air, the demon cultivator turned around and looked at the figure in the distance. There were no ripples in his deep dark eyes. A moment later, his demonic sense spread out to search for the aura left on the little girl. "Who are you?" The demon cultivator found the little girl squatting on the ground and crying hundreds of li away. He looked at the person in the distance and asked. The phoenix body had sealed its cauldron soul and its memories. He didn't know what had happened during this time. Lulua's eyes narrowed when she heard that. Being distracted in battle. Should I say that you're confident or stupid? In an instant, the god of the underworld appeared in front of the demon cultivator. The giant sickle in his hand silently slashed out. With a clang, the demon cultivator grabbed the sickle. Drops of blood dripped down. He looked coldly at the fake god in front of him and said coldly, "It's enough to kill you." He punched out again. Demonic waves surged and its power could split the sky. Demon who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. How much longer can you be arrogant? The god of the underworld blocked the punch with his palm. Violent demonic chi shook, and the battle immediately separated. Een is 600 li northwest of you. Take her away. The demon cultivator transmitted his voice. His figure flashed, and his leg swept out. The air cracked and the sea split. The explosion was ear-piercing. The god of the underworld blocked the demonic chi with his fist. He shook violently and retreated several steps. 100 li away, Lulua heard that and didn't stop. She took a step and rushed toward the northwest wind. I'll wait for you ahead with Een. You must come back alive. After saying that, Lulua disappeared into the night. The battle in the sky became more and more intense. Punches and kicks swept across, and the power to split the sky destroyed pieces of heaven and earth. The collapsed space didn't have time to recover before it was split open again. The battle between the god and the demon cultivator from the ancient times reappeared. The demon cultivator's body was hundreds of meters tall. He faced the god of death's sickle head-on. Punches and kicks collided, and blood splattered everywhere. The bloodstained god's moves became more and more ruthless. The bloodstained demon cultivator's madness became more and more difficult to control. 6 ultimates of the sky demon. Demonic flames burning the plains. The demon race's mystical ability appeared again. Smoke billowed for 100 li, and the demonic waves ignited 1,000 layers of fire waves. The sky shattered with a punch. The demonic flames arrived, and the flames of war filled the sky. The god of the underworld didn't dare to be careless. The death scythe in his hand condensed the Een chi around him. There was an earth-shattering collision. Blood stained the sky, and the Een chi dissipated. The god of the underworld retreated several steps, and the corners of his mouth were dyed red. Below, the 13 netherworld envoys who had sacrificed their god with blood were also injured. They all vomited blood. The human body couldn't withstand the power of a foreign race descending. Under the boundless demonic chi, the god of the underworld showed signs of defeat. How dare you call yourself a god when you're so capable? What a joke. As he spoke, the demon cultivator rushed forward and punched through the god of the underworld's body. The god of the underworld groaned. His consciousness that had descended to the human world collapsed along with his physical body. He couldn't hold on anymore. Sky demons, a sad race. This human world can't tolerate you. It was like this in the ancient times, and it's the same today. Haha. Amidst his maniacal laughter, the god of the underworld's physical body collapsed. His consciousness that had descended to the human world dissipated, and he returned to his own world. Below, as the god of the underworld disappeared, the 13 netherworld envoys stumbled once again. They vomited blood. In this life and death crisis, the leader of the 13 netherworld envoys was shocked. He looked at the sky and shouted in fear, "Palace Master, save us!" As soon as he said that, the heavens and earth stilled. An instant later, the wind and clouds stirred. An unprecedented power appeared. It passed through the barriers of space and refined the wind and clouds. It condensed into a giant hand and slammed down. True realm martial artist. The demon cultivator's eyes narrowed. Demonic flames rose into the sky and crashed into the giant hand in the sky. With a loud explosion, the heavens and earth became chaotic. The aftershocks spread, and the demon cultivator took 3 steps back. He fell down with a smear of blood at the corner of his mouth. In the sky, the giant hand formed by the wind and clouds was hit by the demonic might. It shattered bit by bit and dissipated. Demon ha! The demon cultivator chuckled inexplicably. The strong power dissipated, and the dark clouds dispersed. The moon in the sky shone down coldly once again. Now, it's your turn. The strange power disappeared, and the demon cultivator looked at the 13 netherworld envoys in front of him. He did not hide the killing intent in his eyes. He took a step forward, and demonic chi surged out, swallowing everything around him. Under the cold moon in the sky, the demon cultivator could no longer see any light. After a while, the demon cultivator walked out. The demonic chi retracted, and the 13 netherworld envoys disappeared. A cold wind blew past. and the demon cultivator gradually retracted. The black-robed, black-haired demon cultivator reappeared and walked toward the north. In the Phoenix origin, the ghost lady's ice coffin was nowhere to be seen. The Phoenix cultivator must have sent her away before sealing himself. The demon cultivator looked at the world of ice and snow below him. He released his divine sense and searched for traces of the ice coffin. An unknown distance away, a small green boat sailed past. In the boat, an ice coffin made of ice and snow was very eye-catching. In the ice coffin, a beautiful woman was sleeping quietly. 100 years, 1,000 years, she had no regrets. Behind her, the demon cultivator quickly passed by. He stopped and released his divine sense. Then he continued forward. For 30 years, the demon cultivator did not receive any pity from the heavens. Every step he took, he faced thousands of disasters. The Phoenix cultivator had no regrets, and the demon cultivator had no fear. Step by step, he flattened all disasters. Chapter 663. In a world of ice and snow, it was a long night. The cold moon shone in the sky, and it was bone-chilling. Everything was snowy white, and it was extremely dazzling. The extreme north was extremely cold, and the snow did not melt for thousands of years. The demonic cultivator's figure flashed past, and in an instant, he disappeared into the world of ice and snow. In front of him, the azure boat flew past quickly. It was not affected by the wind and snow, and it was getting faster and faster. Before they parted, the Phoenix body sent the ghost girl away with the azure boat. It was waiting for them to meet again when they returned. The vast land of ice and snow was unimaginably vast. The demonic cultivator did not dare to stop for even a moment. He continued to chase after the azure boat, using the Phoenix origin left behind by the azure boat. The cold wind blew up waves of snow, and when they hit the demonic cultivator, it was extremely cold. The Tao body had lived for 100 years, while the demonic cultivator had lived for 1,000 years. The Phoenix body was on the verge of death, but the demonic cultivator did not have time to care about it. He hurriedly chased after the azure boat in the distance. At the end of the extreme north, the world was completely frozen. The temperature was terrifyingly low, and the snow turned into hail that fell from the sky. In the most extreme weather, there was no trace of life within 1,000 miles. It was an absolute land of death, and all living things that entered were buried. The azure boat was covered in ice crystals, and it was like a lone boat that was traveling in the land of ice and snow like a statue. It was the only scenery in the world. Not long after, the demonic cultivator arrived. In the extreme cold, the demonic cultivator's cultivation technique was getting more and more restricted. In order to prevent the azure boat from falling into the hands of others, the Phoenix body sent it to this terrifying land of extreme cold, but it also brought great trouble to the demonic cultivator. In the frozen world, the void was stagnant, and it was difficult to move. Only the azure boat, which was originally an inanimate object, did not slow down at all. Chasing after the Phoenix origin aura on the azure boat, the demonic cultivator released his divine sense and focused his attention, afraid that he would lose track of the azure boat. Found it. Between the glaciers formed by the 1,000-year-old ice, the demonic cultivator narrowed his eyes and looked at the azure light in front of him. He stepped forward, and his speed increased. In the next moment, the azure boat flew past and crashed into a mountain. Rumbling sounds of avalanches could be heard, and large chunks of ice and snow poured down from high places. The shocking heavenly might was like the end of the world, and no one could resist it. Under the mountain, the azure boat was blocked, and it was about to be buried in the disaster. At this moment, the demon cultivator let out a deep roar. In the blink of an eye, his body was 100 feet tall, and he used the heavenly demon divine power again. Using his body to shake the natural disaster, his demonic body bore the might of the heavens and protected the azure boat behind him. The path ahead appeared, and the azure boat crossed the shore. Just as they were about to leave, the demonic aura around the demonic cultivator rapidly spread out and engulfed the azure boat. Drink! With a shout, the demon body took a step back. the avalanche that the demon body bore crashed down, engulfing everything in front of it. Not long after, 100 miles away, the demonic body appeared. His divine sense swept over the blue boat, and his eyes narrowed slightly. Luofei? Wasn't she with Xiazi? How did she end up like this? Within the blue boat, beside the ice coffin, Luofei was sleeping. Her vitality was so weak that it was almost undetectable. The demon body condensed its essence, and the Tina Phoenix's source energy poured into the former's body, stabilizing what little life force it had left. After a while, the demonic body stopped attacking. His figure flashed and headed in the direction where Ener had been. If he had guessed correctly, Xiazi was most likely with Lulua. Why hadn't he attacked? Was he injured, or did something happen? Thousands of miles away, snow was everywhere, and visibility was less than 100 feet. Ener was squatting on the ground. Her big eyes were filled with tears as she cried softly. Her trembling body seemed so delicate in the cold wind. Ener, he's fine. Don't cry. Lulua's heart ached as she watched from the side. Ener was squatting on the ground, wiping away her tears. She didn't say a word. She knew that if something happened to the phoenix body, Ning Chen's other two bodies wouldn't be able to return. Lulua sighed softly. Her ninth junior brother had experienced too many hardships. Ina must have suffered a lot by his side. Wasn't it too cruel to let a child go through all this? Don't cry. At this moment, a black-clothed, black-haired figure walked over in the snow. Ina raised her head and saw a familiar figure. She got up and ran over, hugging the figure and crying. All right, it's fine now. The demonic body patted the little girl's head and calmly said, Are you ninth junior brother? Lulua looked at the familiar yet unfamiliar youth in front of her. Fourth senior sister, it's nice to meet you. The demonic body looked at the woman beside him. Incarnation. That's not right. Lulua narrowed her eyes. This was different from Emoju's incarnation technique. Fourth senior sister, there's no need to guess. I'll explain later. Let's leave this place first, said Ningchen calmly. Okay. Lulua nodded. Follow me. After saying this, Lulua took a step forward and headed east. The demonic body pulled Ener and quickly followed. How's the phoenix body? Ener wiped away her tears and sobbed. The phoenix body chose to seal itself and protect the Selim soul. However, its physical body has already scattered. It's very troublesome, said the demonic body gravely. Can it still recover? Asked Ener nervously. If the Selim soul wakes up, perhaps there's still hope. I'll take care of this matter. Tell me what happened these past few days. I can't see the Selim soul's memories for now. Ener nodded slightly and wiped away her tears. She told the demonic body everything that had happened after they had separated. Hearing that Emoju had taken action, the demonic body's eyes shone with a cold light. As expected, the problem was him. However, the phoenix body and Xiazi working together were still unable to block a single incarnation. Just how powerful was that old fellow? Ener also told the rest of the story. When she reached the part where the phoenix body had borrowed its life to protect itself, tears began to flow out of her eyes again. The demonic body nodded. He now had a general understanding of what had happened. Without a doubt, Purple Marquis was a problem. The phoenix body's accident was largely due to his impulsiveness, which had led to them being discovered by the Jinshi imperial family. As for Lulua, she truly was an extremely calm person. However, calm people were always cruel. They could be trusted, but they couldn't be completely trusted. In addition, Xiazi's situation was also strange. There was only one person in the world who had the 12 wings of sin. However, hadn't he been sent back in that battle? How could he still have the strength to remain in the human world? As they were thinking, the three of them arrived in front of a snow valley. The surrounding cliffs blocked the wind, making the weather much calmer. Purple Marquis was pacing back and forth in front of the snow valley. He couldn't conceal his impatience. When the three of them appeared, Purple Marquis was startled. He didn't notice the demonic body's aura and robes change. He hastily walked over and asked, Ninth junior apprentice brother, are you all right? I'm fine. Where's Xiazi? Asked Ningchen indifferently. He's still in the valley. He hasn't woken up yet, replied Purple Marquis. Many thanks. Ningchen calmly said. He didn't say anything else and walked into the valley. The instant they passed each other, his cold and emotionless gaze was completely different from before. Only then did Purple Marquis notice it. Looking back, he was startled. What was going on? Don't ask too much for now. Let's follow him and take a look. Lulua's expression was grave as she instructed. Soon after, she also walked towards the valley. Purple Marquis nodded and suppressed his questions. Just now, he had clearly sensed an aura similar to Xiazi's from his 9th junior apprentice brother. Demonic Qi. Within the valley, the black-robed, white-haired sovereign was lying on a rock. His aura was extremely weak. He had clearly suffered a backlash from using a forbidden technique. Ningchen walked over and took in origin energy with a flip of his palm. Demonic waves surged around him and poured into the former's body. Behind him, Purple Marquis' pupil shrank. After a quarter of an hour, Ningchen stopped and looked at the sovereign in front of him. The valley was so quiet that you could hear a pin drop. No one said a word. On the rock, the sovereign opened his eyes. The demonic qi instinctively attacked the person in front of him. With a bang, the two demonic qi collided. Boundless demonic qi surged and swept up 1,000 layers of snow. Xiazi, I trust you've been well since we last met, said Ningchen coldly. Xiazi's eyes regained their clarity. He looked at the demonic body in front of him and narrowed his eyes. So this is your demonic body. Knowing Marquis, I didn't expect someone as rational as you would be forced to this step. At least a demonic qi can do as he pleases, right, my friend? Said Ningchen coldly. Where's the phoenix body? Why didn't he come back with you? Asked Xiazi. He won't be coming back for a while. Ningchen waved his hand, and a blue boat appeared. Luofei flew out and landed in front of him. I'll leave Luofei to you. Back then she protected your life. Now it's your turn to wait for her to wake up, said Ningchen. Xiazi looked at the woman in front of him and unconsciously trembled. He raised his hand and demonic qi spread out, swallowing her. Many thanks, said Xiazi. There's no need for thanks. Xiazi, this is the only time. Next time, if something happens to Luofei and you're still alive, don't blame me for being ruthless. You can't stay here any longer. Take advantage of the fact that the Jinshi royal family's troops haven't arrived yet, and leave with Luofei, said Ningchen. Goodbye. The sovereign nodded and didn't stay any longer. He walked out of the valley. Purple Marquis was about to speak when Lulua glared at him. After Xiazi left, Purple Marquis couldn't help but ask, 9th junior apprentice brother, why didn't you keep him here? One more person is one more force. Ningchen turned his head and looked at Zichuan. 7th senior apprentice brother, I've already lost my life. I don't want to lose my last friend. Senior apprentice brother should be aware of Master Mo's strength. How much of an effect do you think one more person will have? Purple Marquis' expression froze. After a long time, he sighed and didn't say anything else. Ningchen's gaze shifted to Lulua, who was deep in thought. He asked, 4th senior apprentice sister, I want to know when eldest senior apprentice brother will appear. Soon. Lulua recovered. Since eldest senior apprentice brother has interfered, Master Mo definitely won't let this matter rest. I think that it won't be long before we have to face that old fellow. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Ningchen calmly replied. The matter of Mo Gate had to be resolved as soon as possible. Otherwise, it would always be like a fishbone stuck in his throat. Chapter 664. In the snowy valley in the far north, the four left. The cold wind blew, and the scene was dazzling. In the sacred palace of the Jinsi dynasty, Sovereign Lord Jinsi stood on the dragon throne, looking into the distance. Light flashed in his eyes. Sovereign Lord Jinsi. As he spoke, the void rolled, and a shadow shrouded in black mist appeared. A powerful aura surged, and the entire palace shook. Palace Lord. Sovereign Lord Jinsi said slowly. Wrong, it's the acting Palace Lord. The person said calmly. Sovereign Lord Jinsi narrowed his eyes, and did not linger on this topic. He said, May I know why the acting Palace Lord has come? I want to know the identity of the person who fought with the 13 underworld envoys, the acting palace lord said in the black mist. The ninth son of Mo clan, Sovereign Lord Jinsi said honestly. Oh. The acting palace lord was slightly surprised. Mo clan's disciple? He's only ranked ninth, but he's so capable. Heroes come from the young. Acting palace lord, I've given you such a good furnace. Shouldn't you raise the price? Sovereign Lord Jinsi said calmly. Whether this person is worth that much or not, we'll have to wait until we catch him, the acting palace lord said unmoved. It seems that the Hall of the Underworld has failed this time, Sovereign Lord Jinsi said without any surprise. There were some accidents. I'll send people again. I hope that the Hall of the Underworld and the Jinsi dynasty can cooperate happily this time, the acting palace lord said. Of course. Sovereign Lord Jinsi replied. Report. At this moment, outside the palace, a clear voice sounded. His Highness Dong Wang has arrived. In the large hall, a ray of light flashed across the eyes of the acting hall master of the Nether Hall when he heard this. Immediately, his figure gradually faded and disappeared. In front of the dragon throne, Sovereign Lord Jinsi frowned slightly. Why did Dong Wang come here at this time? Not long after, outside the palace, a woman in a light blue battle dress stepped in. Her beautiful face was flawless. She was the leader of the 4 kings of the Jinsi dynasty, and she returned for the first time in 10 years. Your Highness. Dong Wang bowed but did not kneel. There's no need to be so courteous. What brings you here today, Dong Wang? Sovereign Jin, she asked calmly. I came back to ask your majesty whether or not Mo Gate's 9th son must be killed, said the East King calmly. Oh, Emperor Jin, she narrowed his eyes and asked. What do you mean, East King? I've returned to the battlefield to take a look. From the traces left behind, the 13 patrollers of the Hall of the Dead were clearly defeated. Wouldn't such experts be more valuable than anything else in the Jinsi dynasty? Dong Wang said seriously. He's the murderer of the North King. Has the East King forgotten about that? Asked Sovereign Jin she coldly. He might not be the one who killed the North King. Even if it was him, what can he do? The North King attacked first. If he died, he could only blame himself for being too weak. Moreover, how could such a brave swordsman lose to the North King? The East King replied. Does East King mean that you insist on protecting this person? Sovereign Jin Shi's expression grew colder. I wouldn't dare. However, if the Hall of the Dead can't take him, I'm willing to subdue him and make him work for the Jinsi dynasty, said the East King calmly. You don't have to care about this anymore. Leave, said Sovereign Jin Shi coldly. The East King did not move. He looked at the Emperor in the hall, showing no intention of leaving. Seeing this, Sovereign Jin Shi's expression became extremely gloomy. He said coldly, East King, are you going to defy the decree? I wouldn't dare, said the East King calmly. Dong Wang said calmly and continued. What I said today is all for the sake of the Jinsi dynasty. I hope that the Emperor can reconsider. Sovereign Jin Shi clenched his fists so hard that they cracked. After a while, he suppressed the anger in his heart and said, If you insist on protecting this person, how will you deal with Mo Gate and the Hall of the Dead? As long as your majesty agrees, I'm willing to shoulder the pressure from the Hall of the Dead and Mo Gate, said the East King calmly. Sovereign Jin Shi stared at the Emperor below. After a long time, he waved his hand and said, You may leave. Thank you, your majesty. The East King bowed respectfully and turned to leave. Looking at the East King's back, the Jinsi dynasty's expression darkened again. The East King was getting more and more presumptuous. However, the East King's strength was unfathomable. It would not be easy to deal with him. It was indeed a big problem. Gold City, a city not far from Yinji City. In a newly purchased mansion, Lulua was still tidying up the herbs as usual. Her calm expression was not affected by what had happened these days. Ina was practicing swordsmanship in the courtyard. When she was tired, she would run to help tidy up the herbs. She was not too sentimental. After all, a little girl's nature was more open-minded than ordinary people. In the eastern courtyard, Ning Chun did not go out all day. He was wholeheartedly cultivating the celestial devil race's secret arts. The phoenix body's mishap was not a small loss. It meant that they had lost a crucial element to deal with Mo Master. This gap might be even larger than they had imagined. He had to do his best to make up for it. Purple Marquis looked at the eastern courtyard, a serious expression flashing through his eyes. The fact that his ninth junior brother was a devil was not ordinary. Their fates were not ordinary. Perhaps they could temporarily put this matter aside, but that did not mean others could. Once his ninth junior brother's identity was discovered, it would be troublesome. There's no need to think too much about it. As long as ninth junior brother can maintain his rationality, he will always be our junior brother. Human and devil are meaningless to us. Lulua took out a drawer of golden apricot flowers and slowly unfolded them. Your fourth senior sister is right. Race and identity are not things we should consider. As she spoke, scarlet flames rose. An extremely powerful figure walked out. His scarlet armor was dazzling. Even from dozens of meters away, they could feel a heavy pressure. Eldest senior brother. Purple Marquis expression shook when he saw who it was. You're back. Lulua raised her head. Yes. Xiang Yuan nodded and looked towards the courtyard in the east, saying, that must be ninth junior brother. Such a strong and dense devil chi is truly astonishing. If eldest senior brother had seen ninth junior brother's sword cultivation, you would be even more shocked, said Lulua calmly. Oh. Xiang Yuan's expression changed. Just as he was about to speak, his expression suddenly sank. Looking at the eastern horizon, his gaze focused. A corporeal realm expert. To the side, Lulua and Purple Marquis also sensed the pressure coming from the eastern horizon. Their expressions also became grave. How could it be so fast? It really wasn't easy to find you. At this moment, clouds surged in the eastern horizon, and a light blue figure walked out. She slowly landed in the courtyard and looked to the east. Ninth disciple of Mo Gate come out. In the eastern courtyard, Ningchen opened his eyes. Devil Yuan revolved around his body. A moment later, he withdrew his aura and walked to the side of the courtyard. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.